All right, guys, welcome back to Remotely Wasted. This is our week 8. It's week 8, right? Yeah. Week 8 college football episode. We had a crazy weekend going on. We have all kinds of off the field stories that we'll have to cover on this episode. Let us know
Yeah.
in the comments who are your top 5 Heisman candidates and who are your top 4 playoff teams. We'll show you ours as we get further into the episode. But as usual, we like to start at the bottom of the top 25. James Madison finally sneaking their way in. There's really nobody else to put ahead of them this time, so they get in. They had a decent game against Marshall.
Yeah.
Quarterback played all right. The defense played really good.
Shoot, I'm riding James Madison till the wheels fall off. Might as well just bet on them every week to win.
They
I
got
mean,
a
they got a
pretty
pretty
favorable
favorable
schedule.
schedule.
Old Dominion's going to be kind of tough, and I think Appalachian State's going to be pretty tough.
Coastal Carolina on the
Coastal
road.
Carolina will be pretty tough, but
I fucks with them.
they're finally in the top 25. We'll see where if they go undefeated, they'll get a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah,
They're
they'll
not going to
play.
playoffs, but they could go to New Year's Six.
They'll finish around 10, I'd say, because all these teams are gonna end up with 2 to 3 losses on this range. 4
Yeah,
down here probably.
a lot of the people higher up still have to play each other too.
Like you got Florida sitting there getting the max votes. What do they got? Like 3 losses already?
No, they have 2 losses.
Got
So
two.
Florida is like quietly
They're
becoming a pretty
quietly
good
having a
team,
better season.
and they have a Georgia this weekend. Upset alert, probably not,
I
but
hope so.
it'd be cool. It'd be cool to see Florida pull off the upset. Liberty's undefeated. They got a few votes. They're playing right now. They're winning 14-10.
Who are they playing?
Western Kentucky, who is 4-3. So they got a they get they're undefeated. They're just not getting the votes like some of these other smaller schools are.
Yeah, they don't got.
Obviously, out of the smaller undefeated teams, Air Force is the best one. They play the best
Yeah,
competition.
it's cool to see. They're sitting at 19. They played Navy this past week. It was a pretty low scoring game. I don't think anybody expected this to be like a super high score. I think all these military games are always relatively low scoring.
Yeah,
Like
and
all almost always.
Air Force was on their backup quarterback. Their starter was out for the game, so they it was a rivalry game. It was a game they could have
Yeah.
lost. Then we got USC sitting at 24. Yeah, and I mean USC is one of these teams I feel like we got to go kind of a little bit in depth on just because
Uh,
of the dumpster fire this season has became for USC. Caleb really
yeah.
didn't have a very good game. He had no passing touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown towards the end. Their defense fell apart completely, like they have been the past several
Every
weeks.
every game
Yeah,
they've done this. There's really nothing positive to say about USC in this game. Not I don't think a single thing. Uh, I can't think of anything.
I mean, I'm just looking at the stat line. I'm like, nothing on USC's end is really impressive. Taj Washington, his receiving performance, I guess he went over 100 yards
Yeah,
on 5.
5 receptions. That's solid.
Somebody was out there trying. He was trying at least.
You got old boy on the D end or the D line getting fucking ejected on the final drive. I think he's pretty good. I
Yeah,
think
that
he
was unfortunate. I kind of felt bad for that guy.
I did too, but I think it was definitely called for.
It was a good call.
That was a bad hit. It wasn't like a big hit, but it was definitely uncalled for.
It was targeting,
Um,
and he made contact with the head.
yeah. I almost went with Bryson Barnes being my player of the week. He's like an honorable mention for me. That guy played absolutely outstanding. That final drive, it was all him. It was all heart. He absolutely trucked the safety, just laid him out.
That was crazy.
I thought he broke his shit because it was a big hit on his throwing arm, and then he proceeded to just make a pass right after that. I don't think he completed that pass following that big hit, but ran his ass over. And then that last run to set him up in the field goal position, just he carried that entire last drive.
Yeah,
So
he was my player of the week. That's who I had down because it was like he's struggled this whole season. He's not
yeah,
really played that well. In this
he's not
game,
even
yeah.
he's not even been the starter. He's a walk on, which is cool. A walk on beating the Heisman Trophy winner from last year. It's at home, or I guess or on the road for Bryson Barnes, but at home for Caleb Williams. Sellout stadium. Uh, Man went out and balled out. It was crazy. I think he's definitely secured the starting job probably going forward, unless he struggles. but
Yeah,
maybe
he's
he's
kind
one of
of battling
those.
it.
Maybe he's one of those guys that shows up in the big games, and then like the little games against random teams he kind of struggles. But I don't think Utah's schedule gets any easier going forward.
No, they have Oregon this weekend, so that's gonna be
They
just
got
they're
Oregon
right
at
back at it.
home, at Washington, at Arizona, who's just dogging everybody since they've made their QBs change, and then Colorado, the hype machine.
Never know with Colorado. They're gonna score on you. That's all you
Yeah,
know.
they're definitely gonna score. So that's a and then they got Arizona State, who's also dogging everybody, but somehow only has one win. But we touch on Arizona State real quick since we were, and we'll touch on them when we get into Washington. But yeah, Utah has a terrible remaining schedule that they could lose all 5 of these games, or they could win all 5. It really kind of depends on the defense and how the quarterback's playing, because their defense has really carried them up to this point, I would say. Uh, they another week of Caleb Williams getting shut down. Arizona set the stage for this, I feel, and everybody's just followed suit. Or he's kind of given up at this point. I'm not sure what he's doing.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to his body language and his kind of you just kind of question what
Attitude.
his mentality is right
Yeah.
now.
It,
Have you seen the kind of the talk about Caleb should
him
sit the rest
sitting
of
the
the
rest of the
year?
season. Yeah, I have seen that. I don't know who they got left. Cal, that's a win, even if he's not playing. And then 3 games where he could just get absolutely bodied on prime time. That's prime time game. This will be a prime time game. This one probably be like a late as hell 9:30 at night game. And
Overtime.
UCLA's defense is actually legit, so he's not gonna have an easy game there either. Uh I mean, I could see both sides of it. Him sitting out, like he is the projected number 1 overall pick, but that's gonna really make him look bad in the eyes of some NFL teams.
Yeah, I think it'd be a bad choice because I mean you don't just give up on your team after only 2 losses. You still have the conference.
Yeah,
It's like if you're USC, you got to think you could still win the conference. If you don't think you can win, why are you even going out there at this point?
they've
You
only got
could
one
win these
conference loss.
games. Yeah,
And it's Utah, and Utah can lose the rest of their schedule, so they would be ahead of them. Like they just need Oregon's lost to Washington, so USC would have to beat Washington, or basically win out really, and they would need Utah to probably lose another game, and I would probably be USC against Washington again, more than likely. That's kind of how I would see it play out.
yeah, that's what
Um,
it's looking like. I mean, I don't think they'll. I think they'll lose the last 3 games. That's what I think will
I do
happen.
too.
But I think
I
it'd be a
think,
bad decision for him to sit.
yeah,
Lincoln Riley misses practice for the second day. Uh,
convenient.
he wasn't available for his normal coach like radio show, and he didn't make any players available to the media after the game. It's just kind of a weird culture that USC has going on right now.
They didn't sell out. I was wrong. But
USC doesn't sell
I don't.
out very
Yeah,
often.
that's a big ass fucking stadium for a college. That's what they had 77,000 people. I mean, I think Doak Campbell's about that same size. We sell our shit out. So
Yeah, I mean Oklahoma has a capacity of about 85,000, and
Nebraska
sells
sells their
out.
stadium out.
I think Nebraska has even a higher capacity than that. It's like 90 or something.
Shoot, I don't know what's what.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Nebraska has a crazy high capacity, and they saw it every game, and they are not good. They have not been good in the past 12 years.
Well,
86,000.
yeah, so about almost 10,000 more seats, and they sell out every fucking game. Yeah,
Yeah,
shame on you,
USC just
USC
has
fans.
they have fair weather fans who aren't
Yeah, they do.
really into it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Lincoln Riley, wants to move on to the NFL. We'll see if he fires Alex Grinch at the end of the year, if he's planning on staying at USC. We'll see if
That
Caleb
that
sits
has
out.
that has to happen if he stays. That has to happen. There's no way that they can move forward. I would be going after old Knowles at Ohio State, something like go after somebody that's like a proven defensive coordinator, like
Call up the dude at Iowa, like somebody on
facts.
Iowa staff.
Go after You go get Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame if he doesn't want to coach anymore. Uh, who else is kind of out there that he could go get? Mm,
I've heard Ron Rivera's name float around if he gets fired from the Commanders, the head coach of the Commanders.
I could see him quitting. I don't think he's gonna get fired. I don't. He doesn't seem like he wants to coach that team. Like he just doesn't seem like he's in it on the sideline. I don't know, but
He's a name that's been floating around. And then UCLA, they're sitting at number 23. Yeah,
blew Stanford's doors off.
yeah, they blew him off. So they made a QB switch. Dante Moore got benched for this guy named Ethan Garbers. He's a junior. He had a better game than Dante Moore is having. He took care of the ball a little bit more. I don't think he had any interceptions. Dante
Yeah,
Moore's been a kind of an interception machine this year, just throwing them to the other team because he's a true freshman.
yeah. I was actually like hopeful Stanford would win this game after that Colorado game that they came out of. I was expecting the offense to kind of come out firing. Uh, absolutely not.
Yeah, I thought they had figured it out at Colorado. I was like, maybe they got something going. I even picked the money line on them.
And I guess the UCLA's running back, it was his birthday, and he bagged 3 touchdowns, which is pretty cool.
Carson Steele.
What a name.
Yeah, he had a good game. And then their defense just kept
They
going.
got.
And then they got Colorado coming up next.
I don't see them losing that game with Colorado's defense, and UCLA's defense is pretty solid, so they'll get to Shador like everybody does. You only really need to stop them like once or twice to kind of get out in front of them and stay out in front. They're gonna mess up eventually, so you just gotta just keep playing your game and don't fall into the hype. It's really all it takes to beat Colorado, really.
Yeah, I think Colorado's going to play better than they did against Stanford. I'm sure Dion put them through hell.
I
I think they're
bet.
on a bye week, so I'm pretty sure he probably went
Ran
off
their
on
ass
them.
into the ground.
So we'll see how they come back. But yeah, UCLA should win that one. Should, but you never know in college football. There's a lot of games that should have went a certain way and they did not.
Yeah.
Tulane, they're not doing too bad. They won against North Texas. They're up 28-7, and then towards the end, North Texas came back and evened it out at 28-28, and then Tulane scored, made it 35-28. So
Seems like
uh,
an interesting game.
they're an interesting team because, like, their only loss is to Ole Miss, who's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But
I
then
think
they play these close games against teams that aren't really that good. It's kind of, I don't know how good they actually are.
yeah, I mean it's hard to really, gauge all these teams without watching every game they play. So that's too much football to watch for the average fan.
Yeah,
I Tulane's been good for like the last like 5 years, which is like really cool. Like their helmets, look at those helmets are sick. Their uniforms are always kind of dope. They're a cool team. I like Tulane.
yeah. I mean, they're another team that they could win out and maybe get a New Year's Six if they're depending on how everything shakes out.
It could be
I
like them
mean,
in Air Force or something like that.
that'd be pretty cool. It'd be
I
kind of
don't
cool to see like Air Force go against like I don't know like
a
Penn
big
State
school.
or something like
Oh,
that. Just see what happens.
Penn State's not making it that far. I was dead wrong on Penn State. Boy,
Yeah, Penn State. Then we got Tennessee over here. I got on here last week saying I almost guarantee that Tennessee wins, and it looked like I was right for the first little bit of the game, and then
this was my game of the week.
okay,
This is what I settled on. I tossed around. There was so many good ones. Just the fact that it was like 20. It was like 20. Yeah, 20-7 going into half, and Alabama absolutely comes out and stomps the dog shit out of Tennessee. Doesn't let them score a single point. Like that's impressive. That is impressive. That's a big win, like big comeback. That's like I think it was like the biggest deficit they've been at home in like 35 years or something like that. Like it was I don't know what the exact stat was. Something along those lines, and it, they just keep getting better. They just won't die. Curse you, Nick Saban. he's too good for his own good. Like this team's not that good, and he's finding ways to squeeze every little drop of potential out of every one of these players on this team, and they're buying into it. Milrose playing solid. He's doing what he needs to do. They're running the ball well. Receivers are finally starting to kind of come out. Burton, that dude's a fucking animal. I think he's been there a little while, but he had some really big catches in this game that were just kind of super detrimental to Tennessee's morale. They'd have him on second and long, third and long, and Burton, boom, making some crazy ass catch just to get the first down. He's good. He's very good.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was
it,
watching Paul Feinbaum, and he was saying that this team is actually like
Seems scary.
reinvigorated Nick Saban. Like Nick Saban actually enjoys coaching this team, which is I did not think was the case. But
I
apparently
didn't
he
either.
likes having the challenge of like this is the first time in a while he's had to actually coach instead of
Yeah.
just rely on a bunch of talent. So apparently he's really enjoying this season. And he's I guess he just wants to prove to himself that he could win with this team. And so far, so good. They're making me really nervous. I have a feeling Alabama could be in the playoffs if
Yeah, I seen something that's like some people are saying this is like Saban's best coaching job like this year, like this team, which kind of seems like it. They don't really have the same talent that they normally do. You chalk that up to, the transfer portal or maybe a bad recruiting year.
and the draft. They lost so much in the
They,
draft.
yeah, always the draft, but they always reload really well. But then you also got Georgia being really dominant too, doesn't help their, recruiting in that area. So I think there's a lot of factors that play into this Alabama team not being as good as everybody would expect them to be. Uh, yeah, new quarterback too. He's not, the typical Alabama quarterback that they usually have. They don't have the receivers they normally got. They always usually have at least one guy. Like look at the receivers that they put in the draft recently. Bunch of fucking animals. Absolute animals. And
Yeah.
they don't really got that guy, at least yet. So but everything really points to Tennessee should have won this game. Uh they came out and got a mollywop after half. It was bad. It was very bad.
Yeah, I'm thinking this might just be kind of a reloading year for Tennessee. Like they're just gonna have to kind of
Yeah.
weather the storm this year and hopefully fix some of their holes in the offseason over, the transfer portal or recruiting or whatever they have to do to get this going. I'm not super concerned about Tennessee in the long term, but I think their season is done, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless, they could maybe get in the SEC championship, but they need a lot of help. They need some things to happen.
Yeah, I mean they can still mess around and mess somebody else's season up and like they have the potential to beat good teams still. But in this game, I think this fumble return at the end of the game really nail in the coffin. I mean, at that point, it's kind of hard to come back from two scores, but they were that's like the last chance that they kind of had to tie the game up and just catastrophe struck. Got smoked. It wasn't that bad of a hit, but it
Uh,
wasn't. I don't know, man. I just can't even like put into words like how like disappointed I am with that Tennessee team because I was so high on them. I was like, they're a lock for the playoffs. I was gonna lock it in. I was like, they're guaranteed. I was absolutely sure that they were gonna win this game. They did leave some points on the field. They kicked two field goals, so they were up 13-0 instead of 21, which probably would have absolutely deflated Alabama, and I don't think they'd have been able to come back from that. But it was like 13-0, and then Alabama scored, made it 13-7, and then Tennessee pushed it to 20. But if it was 21-0, that's a huge hole to dig out of.
yeah, they probably wouldn't have came
Yeah.
back from a 21-0.
So
Then we got Duke,
Dude.
Florida State. We could get into that game.
Yeah.
'Cause we know you were watching that one. I was watching that one too as well.
What
Started off rough for
oh
Florida
my
State.
God.
Those analytics, man, on the fourth down
They
tries.
they fucked us. And no, that defense fucked us. This is the most physical team I've seen all year, like out of anybody. This Duke team was absolutely smacking the shit out of us. Like that front line is absolutely insane. They were cooking us. We could not run the ball to save our life. Our leading rusher is our quarterback. If that says anything. We have, like I think we have the oldest O line in the country, with games played together. I guess the most veteran O line in the country. So like they dominated them. They pushed us around. It wasn't even funny. But yeah, that analytics, we went forward on fourth down. Our first two drives got stuffed. It was like 4th and 1 and like, fourth and like inches or something stupid. Got stuffed. And then we turned around and I think we threw this pick six after we finally got some points on the board. At that point, I was like, "Oh no, what are we doing?" Our defense couldn't stop them. They were running all over us. The dude had 110 yards rushing. Luckily, Riley Leonard wasn't 100%, or we could have lost this game because he can run really well, and there would have been no way we could have stopped both of them running the ball, and he would have been able to pass way better. He
Yeah.
he he wasn't able to pass at all. He did 7 completions for 69 yards. So, um, yeah, even stacking the box, like we knew he couldn't beat us with the passing because he can't really plant his foot. He can't get a steady pass off. So we still couldn't stop the run. So that's a big like our run defense has been really bad for the last couple of years. We just can't really get it together. But our offense finally kind of got things going. Jordan Travis in the second half, he finally started running the ball because the first half he wasn't really scrambling at all.
Yeah.
That's really kind of once we unleash him running, it absolutely opens up our offense and completely changes the way the defenses play us. I don't know if maybe we were trying to be conservative with him because he has had some injury issues previously in a couple games. And at that point, like we might have said, "Fuck it, you got to go out there and ball," like because we was in a dogfight, and then
Yeah. And he wasn't getting a lot of help from his receivers this game.
fuck
The
no.
receiving core didn't play very well at all.
Oh, because Johnny Wilson got hurt, so he's out. Keon Coleman's getting double covered, and
There's
nobody
just not
else.
there's not another guy to
Nobody else was getting open. We started getting Jaheim Bell the ball, which kind of opened up the
yeah.
offense a little bit. I don't know why we don't feed that man even more because he's an absolute monster. I'm glad we have him though because he's really good. That kickoff return probably saved the game for us.
Yeah, at that point I was like, okay, this is
It wasn't looking good. We were down by 10, had no momentum, and then we take a kickoff to the house. So brought us back into three within three. And then Riley Leonard got hurt, I think in the fourth quarter. Or was the third quarter?
I think it was the third quarter, and he was trying to come back in. He was
Yeah, he
pleading with his
was.
coaches to let him come back in, and they're just like, nah, it's not worth your whole career to
Yeah,
to try to play this one game.
I agree. And like he's a good quarterback. I am a little sad that he wasn't 100% and we didn't get, the full Duke. Uh but I'm also glad that we was able to take him out. I hate to say that, but we got to do what we got to do to win. We got bigger aspirations than Duke's potential ACC championship bid. So we did hold them to no points the entire second half, which is credit to our defense. But I'm happy with the way we played. We found the way to win. We did what we needed to do. We made adjustments. Offense, finally started going, and then we was kind of just unstoppable from there. We are, typically a second half team, and I think part of the reason our defense struggles a lot is we change personnel on the defense so much, like we rotate people in and out, and I think that's probably why we were able to shut down the run eventually, is because we're way more fresh because we keep switching people out. And that's that's
Yeah.
how that's how Florida State used to be when we had Bobby Bowden. Like we would, freshmen be getting reps. Like everybody's playing. Like if you can play, and it just really builds depth, for the long run. And we're gonna need all of these people when it comes time to the bigger games we have ahead. If we make it there, the playoffs, we're gonna need our secondary to be good. Like Ohio State is now starting to terrify me. I don't. There's not a single person on our team that can guard Marvin Harrison, so they all need to get as much experience as possible. And this was a big game. This was a huge game. Uh,
I will say this is the going forward, like Florida State really can't lose. Like I feel like this was the game to lose because Duke was ranked 16. If you guys lost that game,
they would have
they would
jumped
they would
pretty
they would
far.
have jumped pretty high up. So that would have looked like a pretty good loss for you guys
Yeah,
going forward. I
we
mean, you'll
have
have the
no.
ACC championship, but that'll probably like automatically take you out of the playoffs if you lose there
Yeah,
because it's just right at the end.
people aren't even wanting to put us in their top four. Like I don't understand it, but I don't know if they're just not watching us play. Um, and then I I think we've had the best schedule of the top teams so far. Like we opened the season with an out of conference big game with LSU at a neutral site. It's not like we were at home. I mean, kind of, but whatever. Um, we beat Clemson. Granted that's not a big win right now, but for our team, that's a huge win. We've gutted out a win at Boston College, and then this Duke win's pretty big. So I feel like I'm missing one. The Syracuse one was solid, but Miami's starting to get better, so I think they could be ranked by the time we play them, and then it's looking like
Florida
Florida
will probably be
more than
ranked. Well,
likely.
it depends, but they could be.
But and it's still an SEC school, so like with our wins so far, I think we have the best resume out of everybody. Uh, I don't know if that's me just being biased or not, but
I think it's down to Florida State and one other team that I'll mention when we get up to our top four. But Florida State has a top two strength of schedule in my opinion right now.
yeah, it was a game gave me a almost a heart attack, but I knew we was gonna win the game going into it. And then the way we started, I was like, we're just fucking mistakes. Like mistakes have been costing us all year, penalties. And then the fucking ACC refs, I'll just say this, they are trash. Like they refuse to call holding against us. Refuse. Like I'm watching the D line like almost every play, holding, holding, holding. They'll call it every now and again, but I'm like, good God, man. Like it's just unbearable.
I think ACC probably has the worst officiating in college football.
I would
Every
agree.
ACC game I've watched, I've seen the refs just make bad calls
Yeah.
and missed calls,
And
and
the
it's really
ACC,
frustrating.
they just don't like us in general either. I don't know why. Like we're your top team right now, so like why are you trying to fucking like why are you trying to tank your top team? It just doesn't make sense. So it's always been like that. They always are like that with us. It's weird. I don't know. Something seems off.
Yeah, I mean, but it was a good win that Florida State got. I mean, at this looking at the scoreboard, it looks a lot better than it actually was. But I
Yeah.
think that's fine. That gives you the style points
Yep.
Florida State's going to need going forward. And I mean, you
Agreed.
got to feel a lot better about Florida State because now they've proven it against multiple ranked teams. I don't think Clemson ranked when you played them. If they were, they're like 25.
Um, I want to say yeah. I think we were their first loss.
They lost to Duke, and then they lost
Yeah.
to
So they were
Florida
they
State.
were still ranked when we beat them. They weren't super high, but
Yeah, so Clemson was ranked. They're not anymore, but you still got Duke, who's still ranked. They're at 20 now, and they could still climb up as the
yeah,
season goes forward.
they
So
didn't fall
that's going
that
to be
far.
a really good win at the end of the season, and this
And
LSU win is going to
LSU's
look really good
climbing.
too. Especially if
Uh,
LSU beats Bama, that's going to be a huge win.
yeah, absolutely, and they absolutely can.
We've already
LSU's
kind
got
of touched on Air Force. They squeaked out a close one against Navy. They had their backup quarterback in. Um, he had their backup quarterback had a weird stat line for Air Force. He was 4 for 5, but 151 yards and a touchdown on 4 passes. So
They just run the ball and then they'll occasionally like boom over the top, just out of nowhere. Really sucks you into the run.
yeah,
It's
and
like
then
that.
we yeah
It's like that weird, like it's like the triple option type style. They occasionally throw the ball, but they make you sell out for the run, and they just wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and you think it's coming. They wait a little bit more, and then they try it. And, sometimes they fucking suck and miss because they don't have quarterbacks that throw often. But it's an interesting style. I don't
course.
think I don't think Air Force runs a triple option, but it's similar type of vibe that they're going for.
Then we got Louisville over here. They're on a bye week, but they have a big game coming up against Duke.
Yeah,
This
this
could
would be
potentially determine who's going to be in the ACC championship against Florida State at this point.
This would be a good game if Louisville is like as good as everybody kind of thought after that Notre Dame game. I'm still convinced this Pitt loss was kind of a hangover loss. Uh, it has to be, right?
I think so,
Because Pitt's
but these bye weeks they could work for you or against you. Because now I'm like, okay, they're off a bye week. Hopefully they should come
yeah,
back.
because Pitt's 2-5. They're only ACC wins against Louisville. Like Pitt might not win a game the rest of the year. They're not beating Notre Dame. They damn sure shouldn't be beating us. They could beat Syracuse. Boston College has been playing pretty well, and then there's no way they're beating Duke. No way. So Louisville, they got a little bit of explaining to do with that one, but I'm chalking it up to the hangover loss, kind of like you guys seem to run into this week, coming off
Yeah,
bye weeks or big games.
there was a lot of games like that this week where teams were coming off of byes and just not playing very well. We'll see what Duke does against Louisville.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Riley Leonard's probably not going to play.
No, so that's the only way Louisville wins this game, unless Duke's defense is able to just absolutely suffocate them and maybe force some turnovers to force short fields or get some defensive touchdowns. Because Duke's backup quarterback is I don't think they really trust him to throw the ball against good defenses, and Louisville's defense seems pretty solid. So this be a really good game. I'm excited to watch this one.
Yeah, this one will have, kind of, I wouldn't say playoff implications, but it'll kind of determine, if
Could
Louisville
be.
pulls this one off, it could be Louisville, Florida State,
And then if
come ACC championship.
they beat us, they could definitely be in there.
Yeah, so I mean, it could definitely have playoff implications. Then we got North Carolina. That's bad. North Carolina that was my game of the week. Um,
This was I have my best performance by a team in Virginia. A tie with another team for most disappointing performance in North Carolina. Uh, this is just unacceptable. This should never happen. North Carolina was at home. Uh, Almost a sellout crowd, and they got I wouldn't say dominated, but Virginia was kind of just doing whatever they wanted on offense. It seemed they just couldn't stop them, and Virginia was kind of getting to Drake May a little bit, disrupting him. I mean, he still had a really good game, but the completion percentage is terrible. Threw for 347, but Virginia was just running the ball really well, making a quarterback was making really good passes, like real tight passes. He looked
yeah,
good. Uh,
Musket, yeah.
the receivers were getting open, finding spaces in the defense. So this should have shouldn't happen.
This was so apparently this was Virginia's first ever road win against a top 10 team in school history.
Yeah,
And then after everything that's happened with Virginia, I'm really happy to see them pull something off like this.
yeah. This
Um,
even if they don't win another game the rest of the year, like this, I'd be cool with this win.
this
Fuck you,
felt
North
like North
Carolina.
Carolina. This kind of felt like I wouldn't say
Their
North Carolina's
year.
year, but it felt like this was
If they
as
would,
good the best shot they were gonna have.
yeah, like when's the next time you're gonna have a quarterback that's in the Heisman contention, projected to go in the first round of the draft? You got a badass wide receiver you guys just got back, or that you just got to be able to play. He's been cooking people. Like that guy's really good. I think it's this guy.
Yeah, Tez Walker. Yeah,
He's good.
He's a good player. And then I mean Drake May had a good game, and then everything just kind of fell apart. They had that pick six that kind of hurt them towards the end.
Yeah. And then that interception to seal it on the
Or
last
maybe it wasn't a
drive.
pick six. I think it was just a regular
Yeah,
interception.
he
But
just he was I think he was kind of getting hit and he just threw it across over the middle and it
yeah, right to that guy. Yeah.
right to the linebacker. It was good. It was a good catch too. I mean, it wasn't like a gimme interception. Like he had to make a play on it. So I mean, I don't know if this is Drake May's fault or the defense. Every time I seen Mac Brown on the sideline towards that second half, he was like, it looked like he didn't know what to do. He was like in shock. Uh, yeah. After this game, I'm putting him on the hot seat because whenever what are they ever gonna be able to do now? Like this is probably the best team that he's gonna have, and he couldn't get it done. You can't finish out the ACC schedule undefeated. Like we have one of the easier conferences in the country. Their schedule's not that hard. South Carolina, coming into the season, they probably had a kind of like a whatever fucking mark on that game. Like, okay, this could be a tough game. They come in, beat them pretty good. Uh, Miami was probably another one, but I think they got lucky on that one from what I've heard. And then they got Duke and Clemson, but Clemson ain't shit now, so and that Duke game could be really interesting.
I'm not entirely confident that they beat Georgia Tech just with the way Georgia Tech's been this year. They've
Yeah,
been one of
Georgia
those
Tech's
scrap teams.
they're cooking. Come on, get down.
Yeah, that was a rough one. I mean, the Mac Brown, I've heard kind of the hot seat talk on him.
Or him
It,
just retiring.
maybe that's what needs to happen. I don't know if you guys like I don't know if North Carolina gets better than Mac Brown. I don't know if you could find anybody better to take that job.
I
They're
mean,
kind of
really,
in an Oklahoma State situation where they
yeah,
got they got somebody really good, but he can't take you over the top. I have a hot take of a coach that I have on the hot seat coming up in a few slots
maybe they could
because
like
thinking the same way.
transition him like out of the head coaching spot, but like still be in
Like
like
athletic
maybe like
department.
a co-head coach or something. Like, because I mean, obviously, like he built this team into what they are. Like they're a good team. Granted, Drake May is kind of like a legacy, so like it's not like all him because that he got Drake May. Like he was probably gonna go there regardless.
Yeah. And then with Drake May leaving, it's I'm just really curious to see can they keep up being as good as they have been? Do they have somebody in recruiting that's
Yeah,
going to be good? Can they pick up somebody in the portal? They probably can. But this felt like their best chance at a playoff berth, and it's slipping away unless they win out and beat Florida State in the ACC championship. There's pretty much no shot for them to get in.
yeah,
And
but then
even
if
with this loss,
they're going to be
this loss
matched up
sucks.
against other one loss teams. Like you're going to have like a potentially one loss Ohio State, Michigan asterisk, but uh, sitting there and we're like, okay, why would we put this North Carolina team with a loss against a potential 2-win team? It's just not. It's not going to happen. I think their chance to make the playoffs is like 0.5%. They're going to need something just catastrophic up in the top to happen. I think even like a 2-loss team could get in over this team. Really,
I don't.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think they have a shot at the playoffs at this moment.
Yeah,
It,
ain't looking like it.
I don't really for some reason I don't really like North Carolina. I don't know what it is, but I don't mind seeing them lose.
Yeah, I don't either. I've never been big on North Carolina. I'm not big on Drake May either. Like he's good. I liked him last year. I'm not a big fan of him this year for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Unfortunate. But yeah, going to 16, we got Missouri. They're quietly having a very, very good season. They had a pretty much a
Yeah,
dominant win against South Carolina. Their kicker, man, I don't know if you like heard of this like Mevis guy. He's kicked 13 uh 50 plus
it's
field goals.
crazy.
I don't know if that's on his career or the season, but I heard that stat. Like that dude is nuts. He kicked another like super far one in this game. It was like a 50 plus yarder. Um,
He's missed one extra point.
as long as 61.
He's got 3 50 plus yarders, 3 for 5, 4 for 5 from 30, not 30 at a time. So all his misses are basically 50 plus, and
Yeah,
one from mid range.
he's
That's
a
pretty
good
good.
he's a good kicker. Missouri, I mean, they're let's see, their running back rushed for 159 and 2 touchdowns. The quarterback, he did okay. But they had a pretty good win. I mean, South Carolina, they're 2-5, but I feel like they're one of the better 2-5 teams in the country.
Ah, shit,
They
I don't know.
they played Georgia pretty close.
That's a rivalry game though.
Spencer Rattler, he's just not what I think they
I
thought they were getting.
I don't know what happened from the end of last year. He looked absolutely phenomenal, and then this year he's really shooting himself in the foot going to the NFL. He
I
might
thought he
not
was a
get.
Heisman contender going into this year. Like before the season started, I thought man, he could win the Heisman. He beat Clemson, and then he beat another Tennessee to
Yeah,
close out the season. Two highly ranked teams last year.
yeah. He might not even get drafted now after this year.
He's like the biggest he's like a bust pretty
He's a
much.
big bust. Every definition of the word.
He was the number one quarterback coming into his college career at Oklahoma, and then he lost the job to Caleb Williams, and then didn't
There's
really do that good last year until the end and
there's just
start
I
building
think
on it.
there's something wrong with him. He's got the talent. He could be good.
The mental, I feel like it's his mentality maybe, and just partially just his decision making on the field. He tries to play hero ball a lot and force plays that aren't there.
Shoot, maybe it's the water down there.
Something like
Turn the
that.
frogs gay.
LSU dominant win against Army.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird non-conference
I
game
mean,
mid-season.
it's all right, I guess. There could be a worse team to play. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
Army's not. I mean, they're not
not the
great.
worst team. I mean, they barely lost to Boston College. I mean, they
Held
get
their own
blown.
against Syracuse.
Yeah. Beat UTSA, who's, okay. Barely lost to UL Monroe. Like, I mean, they're not nothing crazy, but this is what you would expect to see. So, I mean, if it was like nothing, if this wasn't the score line, or if they gave up like 17, 20 points, I'd be like, okay. But their defense finally showed up. But it is Army, so
Yeah. They have a bye week, and then they come back after that bye week to play Bama. Um, not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend after, and that's gonna be kind of a game of the year in the SEC West, I believe, is the division they're in. That pretty much is whoever wins that game is going to the SEC championship, but more than
seems
likely
likely. Yeah.
to
I
play
mean,
Georgia.
I hope they beat them. I think they could. LSU's offense is really, really explosive. Jaden Daniels is really good. He's just getting better as the year's going on. Um, yeah, Alabama's their defense is getting better too, but I think they're gonna put points on them, and they're gonna have to score. Like, Alabama's gonna have to score. They can't really be starting sluggish, or they're gonna probably find themselves in a hole.
Yeah.
So they're definitely gonna score against the LSU defense unless they miraculously show up and are a changed team. Not likely, but yeah, I got LSU winning by like 10
I
at
think it's
least.
possible. I think LSU has a great offense. Their defense is just not that good.
Yeah,
Really just depends on what Nick Saban could do with the Alabama defense, and if they could do something to stop Jaden Daniels. He had two receivers in this last game against Army that went for 100 plus and 2 touchdowns.
as they should.
Two separate receivers. So I
As they
mean,
should.
he's got weapons on the outside. He could run the ball if he needs to. He's easily the best quarterback Alabama's played so far. I think he's even better than Ewers, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah, I would say so. And
And
yours is
Ewers is he's all right. He's pretty good. And but this guy is something else. He's a whole different league of
he's
his own.
he's carrying himself to the Heisman conversation by himself. He could still win it. The only reason he's probably not number one is because they have two losses. I think if they had just the one, he could be, number one just
And
based off
both of
stats.
their losses aren't bad. You got Ole Miss who's 12 and Florida
That was
State who's
and
4.
that was an absolute crazy shootout against Ole Miss. Like, that's not his fault. The defense, they don't have one. So and then yeah, he didn't have his best game against us. But luckily we caught him at the first game of the year and not now, or it could have been a different story.
Yeah, and that was the first game of the year, so you
Yeah.
could kind of give them some slack on that
And
one.
you got to give them credit. Like I'm giving us credit, scheduling a big out of conference game, the first game of the year, back to back seasons. So like, that could tank both years for you if you lose both games. So it's a lot of risk to do that, and nobody else is really doing it. Like nobody else is really scheduling big out of school conference games in their schedule. I mean,
Yeah, I mean you had Bama, Texas, and that was it.
yeah, that was a
Uh,
big one. Congrats on them for, finally playing somebody.
Oklahoma, we were actually scheduled to play Georgia this year, and then I guess because we're moving to the SEC, they had to do something and take it off. It was kind of annoying. Well, we're
I
supposed
don't
to we're supposed to play Georgia the second week of the season.
I don't really know if anybody else other than like Notre Dame, but like they're independent. They can kind of do whatever the fuck they want, I guess. So yeah, props to LSU still for that.
Then Notre Dame,
Uh
they're on a bye after that
yeah,
big win over USC. So
it's
uh,
not looking as big anymore.
yeah, it's not even that big anymore. They got Wake Forest, or they got Pitt next week, and they're coming off a loss to Wake Forest. And yeah, Pitt was playing against Wake Forest's third string QB when they lost last week. So should be an easy win for Notre Dame. Should be, but you never know.
Yeah, with the way college football is shaping up this year, crazier things have already happened. I don't think anything's beaten that Virginia North Carolina game for surprise factor. That's probably going to be one of the biggest upsets in years and
That's
probably for
probably like
years to
this
come.
in my opinion. That's like the second biggest upset in college football history because this deep in the season, you don't normally
Yeah.
see an undefeated team lose to a team that, and at that point, Virginia only had one win.
Yeah.
A one
Uh,
win Virginia when you're undefeated in ranked 10. That is
that's like a 16
crazy.
seed beating a 1 seed in March Madness.
Yeah, like next to like
Well,
Appalachian State beat Michigan, I can't think of anything
that's not
crazy.
even a 16 seed. That's like a team that didn't make the tournament and that's like, the bottom of their fucking pool beating a 1 seed. You know what I mean? That's like the
Yeah.
equivalent. It's just it doesn't happen and it shouldn't happen and I would be embarrassed if I was a North Carolina fan. I would if I was a North Carolina fan, I would not be on this episode today. You just wouldn't see me. I would be skipping this week. That's like if we lose to a fucking Pitt next week. I wouldn't be on here.
So I can't do it.
We're either skipping a week or you got to do it yourself, or I might just sit here.
Going solo. Yeah, Utah, we already talked about Utah. Obviously, they had a good little win.
Oregon State's catching some steam, man. Unfortunately, they dropped that game on the road to Washington State, but uh, this is a very good team, and they're just getting better. So all these teams down here, these games are going to be absolutely fantastic to watch. Unfortunately, this one's at 9:30 and 9 p.m. So fuck you, Pac-12. But these could
Yeah.
easily be, double overtime games or Oregon State blowing both of these teams' doors off because they're playing really well
Aside from Stanford, they could win or lose
every
any
game.
of those other games. You have no idea which way it's going to go.
It's
Like
just
I
crazy.
think that I have a suspicion that they're going to beat Oregon the last game of the year because
I
it's a
hope
rivalry
so.
game.
Yeah,
Oregon's leaving to the Big Ten,
yeah.
and this is the best team Oregon State has had
I could
maybe
see
ever.
I could see him beat Washington too. Washington's starting to not look as good. I Yeah, I mean we'll get into the Washington in a little bit, but unfortunately, like 3 of these games are on the road, but they do get one big one at home. So this is a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they were on a bye last week, so it's been a minute since we've seen them. And then this was I have a lot to say about this game.
Yeah, this was
This was the worst performance by a team. I put Penn State for mine.
Yeah, I tied this one with North Carolina. I couldn't separate the two of them. Most disappointing player of the week and defensive team performance for Ohio
Yep,
State.
same with same pretty much.
And this was the worst top 10 offense I've ever seen. Ever. I don't even know what the fuck. What like does this guy know how to play football? Like, is he blind? He looked blind.
Yeah, Aller. So the thing
Holy
that really
shit!
caught my eye is 18 out of 42
They
is a
went like
terrible like,
1 for 16 on third down, I think, for the game.
and they the like offensive coordinator was not letting him throw further than like 10 yards.
Because he couldn't. He was missing fucking wide open people.
You gotta at least let it go. Like, give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I get that. The play calling was super conservative, but the game was very close. I think they was just trying to make sure he doesn't, lose the game for them because he was way off. And McCord on the other side wasn't playing that good either. Like Grant, like his stat line looks good, but he wasn't playing. Marvin Harrison is the reason this dude's stat line's that. Marvin Harrison is the reason they won this game. I wholeheartedly believe that because Penn State just defense was doing everything they could to win this game. They got very unlucky on a holding call on I think a fumble return for a touchdown. Uh, Pretty shitty, but I think Penn State cost themselves this game. Their play calling was so bad on offense. They try something, do something, a trick play, a wildcat play, something like James Franklin is a fucking fraud.
Yeah, so
He
that was my hot take. Is I think he should be let go
Oh,
because
100%. 100%.
at this point you can't beat Michigan or Ohio State consistently, at
Or
least.
ever.
And that's what you're there for. Like, that's what you're there for, is to beat those two teams. Yes, you can win 10 games, get
Yeah.
yourself to a New Year's Six bowl. But at this point, if you're Penn State, don't you want to go to the playoffs and actually compete once you get? I get we're going to 12 teams
But
next
they're not
year.
going to compete. Like this is their first big game of the year and they got fucking dominated. Like yeah, they were looking good every game up until this point and I was like, okay, they got I think I talked about Drew Aller at the beginning of the season on an episode and I was like, okay, it looks like they finally got their quarterback, because Sean Clifford couldn't get the job done. He would just, fuck up or whatever the case would be. And I was like, okay, looked like they got somebody. He was playing very well. They weren't playing anybody. So that's kind of like it's not necessarily their fault or his fault, but you got to schedule somebody to challenge you before you walk into the fucking Lions Den of Ohio State on the road and get absolutely massacred. Granted, they only lost by 8, but they got massacred.
Yeah, no, it was bad. I haven't lost complete faith in Drew Aller. I watched his press conference after. Uh, it reminded me a lot of like Tebow's like press conference when they lost. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
I promise you, like,
Yeah, like,
uh,
I'm gonna
what the
go harder than any player you've
anybody's
ever
ever
seen.
played before. Like, yeah, that shit was hard.
It remind because it wasn't that dramatic, but he was like, I sucked today, and he was like crying and shit.
Yeah, you
And
did.
I feel like if he takes it that serious, he's probably gonna come back and play
I
pretty
mean,
well after
this
that.
last drive that they had here, like, 12 plays, 73 yards, like, they looked really good that drive. I don't know why the fuck they couldn't do this. Like, granted, the defense is probably tired because the Ohio State's fucking defense was on the field like the entire game, it seemed. But I don't think that's true. The time of possession was more so Penn State's defense was on the field the entire game, getting cooked by Marvin Harrison. You guys unguardable. Uh, I
I
don't
think
know, man.
Franklin has to go.
He's
Like,
got to go.
do you guys want to stay where you're at, where you're just a
I
two
think
loss team every year?
I think the last time they beat Ohio State was like 2016 when they had Saquon, and that's like a generational talent in college. Like,
Yeah, that he's Franklin's 1 for 9 against Ohio State. Like, that's just not acceptable.
no, I don't. Have they beat Michigan since he's been there?
I think they beat Michigan like twice, 2 or 3 times,
That's probably before Harbaugh got there, if I had to guess.
or like one of the earlier
Yeah,
years of his tenure
before
there.
they started cheating.
Maybe they've been
What?
doing it.
What?
Did you see they bought tickets to this game? Both sides.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
They're
Cause they,
empty. They're empty. Because
cause yeah, their
everything came
investigation had
out.
started. Fucking ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good game. And I give Ohio State all the props. Like I said, I'm not excited to play this team if we get to the playoffs because their defensive line is really good. Our offensive line is sometimes not, so they would beat us on that front, and they have arguably the best receiving core in the country still with Marvin Harrison and Egbuka. And the dude wasn't even playing this game. Like it was just Marvin Harrison. So if Egbuka or Ebuka, whatever the fuck he said his name was playing, it would have
Yeah.
probably been way worse. So they could have snatched this game and they didn't. The play calling probably let Drew down a little bit, but he was missing wide open throws. Yeah, he was getting pressured a lot, but it looked like he was drunk. He couldn't complete a pass.
Yeah, I think this was his first big game of his career. He's a
Yeah,
true freshman. I
you
think
got to give him a little bit of
the
it,
nerves got to him
and it's
quite a
on the
bit,
road.
but it was a very very bad performance. He was my worst performance of the week as well by a player. Just because like that completion percentage is so bad. If he just
Yeah,
completed maybe 10 more passes, maybe maybe Penn State wins the game at that point.
that turnover that they got turned back really would have that they would have stole all the momentum. They would have been in the lead, and I think they would have won if that wouldn't have got called back. It was kind of a shitty holding call, but I fucking hate holding in the college. I hate holding in general. It's so annoying. It's so like iffy. They call it, they don't call it. Uh, they
It's not
call it
consistent on how
sometimes.
much they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like maybe they don't see it, or they're like, "Oh yeah, I didn't see that." Yeah, shut the fuck up! You're looking right at him. You know what I mean? Uh,
You just got to call it consistent on both sides. Like if you're not
yeah.
going to call it very much, you can't call it on one team and not the other. If you're going to
I
call it a bunch, you got to call it a bunch on both sides.
I still think I still think Penn State can beat Michigan.
So do I.
Call me crazy, but they're at home. Penn State has one of the worst, most hostile environments to play, and
Going to be a whiteout game, probably nighttime whiteout game.
prime time. So that could be the game Drew Bauer needs at home, comfortable a little bit. Michigan's defense is probably better than Ohio State, so it's not going to be any easier for him on that aspect. But they were talking about it in the game. Like Penn State just doesn't have any receivers. Like they don't have anybody really to throw it to. That's kind of gonna be the guy. They don't have a guy on offense. They don't have anybody that's gonna turn the game on its head for you or make a crazy big play when you really need it. So that could be the reason they lose. I don't know. It should be a good one, if anything. I hope. Because this game was terrible.
Yeah, we'll see what Penn State does going forward.
Like
And
schedule's pretty favorable. It's win. They could lose to Maryland, honestly. Michigan at home. Rutgers at home, but Rutgers is playing pretty good. I think they've only lost to Ohio State this year, and then that should be a blowout as well. But so they could lose. They could lose three more games. Then James Franklin should most definitely be fired.
it's
Most
just one of
definitely.
those spots where it's like James Franklin's done a really good job, but he's now you're stuck. Do you want to just stay where you're
I
at?
think they just signed him to like a 10-year contract. I think like last year. So they're
Yeah.
kind of in the Jimbo Fisher boat. I don't think they can really afford to fire him. Unfortunately.
Now, with it going to 12 teams, Penn State will make the playoffs. I'm sure of that. But
I don't know,
will
man,
they get far? I don't know.
because they'd be having, especially with the Big Ten, adding more power. They're gonna.
Oh, that's true.
There's no way they're gonna drop to like a second tier team, and oh, they're already second tier. They'd be okay. They're gonna be a third tier team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, because Oregon and Washington are probably gonna
They're
from out the gate gonna be better than them.
I don't know. Both of those teams are losing their quarterback too, so next year could be a down year for them. But I don't see them staying down for very long, especially not Oregon.
And we'll see what happens. UCLA is on the up and up. USC, I don't know because I don't know what the future of their program looks like.
It's still a blue blood school. They'll figure something out eventually.
Yeah.
But not, I don't know if they win the Big Ten type turnaround, but they'll compete.
And then Bama, we already talked about. They had
Yeah,
their game against Tennessee. Oregon, they struggled a little bit early on against Washington State.
yeah. This was a pretty solid game for a little while, and then the second half, Oregon started pulling away. I think if Washington State maybe could have got a touchdown right here, kept it close, they could have won the game because I mean they hung around. Cam Ward threw for fucking 438, so They just couldn't run. They couldn't run the ball at all, at all. And Oregon's defense is pretty solid. They're not really giving up too much craziness, and then that offense is like arguably the most dynamic in football right now. They always calling some crazy ass trick plays. Bo Nix plays really well almost every game. He throws well. He don't really make bad decisions. He can run. He's really good. It's hard to beat this Oregon team. Look at this, it's fucking nuts. All those yards are
And
from the quarterback.
that's really impressive against this Oregon defense, which is pretty good for the most part. We've seen them struggle once they have to play an actual good quarterback, though. This is the second week in a row where they've kind of got torched.
I think if Oregon was on the
talent.
road, they could have lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Call me crazy on that one, maybe, but I think they could have. Because
I'm not completely sold on Oregon at this moment.
Nah, I mean, if they make the playoffs, they're getting rolled. But maybe not rolled, but they're not winning. There's no way. There's no way. They'd have to get in there with like I think they could beat Georgia. I don't see Georgia's offense competing with them. But Georgia's defense.
I think Oregon probably matches up pretty well because Dan Lanning was on Kirby Smart's staff. He knows kind of their tendencies and stuff on offense. That's probably their best bet to beat anybody, really.
I mean, I think arguably Oregon could beat anybody on a given day, but it just gets weird. Like Texas, they would beat Texas now. OU would be that'd be a really good game.
That'd be a good matchup.
I would maybe slide Oregon's way just a little bit, just based off their defense is a little more consistent, it seems. Washington, they've already lost to them, so that one's solved. I think we could beat them. Ohio State, I don't see them beating Ohio State. I don't really see them beating Michigan if they make it. And I could see them beat Georgia.
I don't know. I think from 9 up, I feel like it really just depends. I feel like any of those teams could beat the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Penn State, that's cut the cutoff. You could maybe slide up Oregon State. Maybe they can hang.
Maybe Utah.
Yeah, maybe Utah if they get the offense figured out. If they
LSU.
keep up.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, 9 and up. I'm like, I don't know. Any of those teams could walk away with the national championship at this moment.
Man, this fucking game, Houston got hosed by the refs.
Yeah, the ball placement at the end of the game.
There was a whole like almost fucking a yard short. Like you could see the guy going a yard past the first down on that last drive where it was like 4th and 2, I think, and they ran it, or Houston ran the ball. And you see the guy surge forward past the first down and then get pushed back, and the refs marked him like almost a whole yard short. Like there was a big gap with the fucking stupid ass chains that they wanted to pull out. There's no fucking way. I would be pissed. Houston, like I'm not saying they would have won the game, but they would have kept that drive going to go down and potentially tie.
Make it go to overtime, and then overtime on the road. Maybe Texas doesn't win.
No Quinn Ewers. Yeah, they were getting the running game going at the end of the game, so they could have just relied on the running backs. But I would be very upset if I was a Houston fan. Very upset.
Yeah, Texas, they struggle. I think this is another hangover game. I don't think Texas is actually this bad.
I don't either.
They're coming off of a tough loss. They had a bye week, and then Ewers gets hurt. But I mean, they weren't doing good when Ewers was in.
Man, Houston's quarterback was slinging it. That dude's got an arm.
Yeah, and that Golden kid at receiver, he was going off too towards the end.
This guy was making some crazy big throws. I was pretty impressed when I was watching the highlights. These 2 turnovers really don't help. That could have potentially swung the game. Like I think he threw an interception he overthrew his receiver and the safety snagged it, I think, and like they were in range to get points. They was in the red zone. So that doesn't help, but it's unfortunate for Houston. They could have won the game and they didn't get the chance.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Texas does without Quinn Ewers. He's going to be out, looks like, for 3 to 4 weeks.
It says indefinitely, is what I've heard.
Like
I
it
don't
could be
know.
the season.
I don't know what the definition of indefinitely,
That
but
usually means like the season or most of it. Malik Murphy only attempted 2 passes in the Houston game. So I watched it. I went back and watched Malik Murphy's highlights, and he's more of a pocket passer. Uh,
grade 2 AC joint sprain.
so yeah, he's gonna be out for a few weeks at the very least. Maybe it's the whole season.
It's week to week. Is this the same? Oh,
Hopefully
is
that
this the,
doesn't
is
doesn't
that
get us.
the same injury he had against Alabama? Was it because he hurt his shoulder last year, right? He got hurt
Yeah,
against
he
Bama.
did. I don't know if it's like the exact same injury.
It's his right shoulder. Uh, I Google it, but I don't care.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how they do. Arch Manning is not getting the start. They're gonna go with Malik Murphy. He's a pocket passer from what I've seen. He doesn't rush the ball a whole lot, but when he does rush,
He
he
looks
does
big
all
as
right.
fuck.
Yeah, he
Like
could be really good. I just don't know. We just
he
haven't
look
seen him.
he looks big. Uh, I think they're making the right decision and not starting Arch Manning. Like, why waste his? I don't know if they have him on a red shirt.
Yeah, you get what 4 games to play in his red shirt,
And
5 maybe.
I don't think he's played any, right?
He
Is
hasn't
he?
he hasn't taken a single snap yet.
Yeah. I don't think he's ready. Granted, they don't have like a crazy schedule, but it is the Big 12 and all of these teams play different like every week. Or like, depending on who they're playing. It's so like iffy with the Big 12 this year and like always. So like BYU's not that great this year, but
I
I
think they
would
lose that one actually.
I could see it, especially if Murphy's not coming in firing on all cylinders, and BYU's like, okay, this is the time we beat Texas. Like, their quarterback's out.
Yeah, BYU's
Um,
5-2 right now, and they beat Texas Tech last week, which isn't saying much,
but
but they
Texas
did.
Tech is like a very weird. Like
They played Oregon close. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like all these teams are so like fucking iffy. Other than TCU, TCU's having a really bad year. They keep losing to teams I expect them to win against. I don't see them beating K State now. Iowa State's trash, so they could
Iowa State's
lose.
actually turned their season around a little bit. Uh, if Iowa State beats Texas, Iowa State might get in the Big 12 championship.
That'd be
Uh,
interesting.
we'll see. I don't.
Yeah.
I think BYU is the only one they're going to lose,
I
just
do think
because it's the first one after.
I think if Ewers is out for the year, they got a loss on the schedule somewhere. Especially with, 2 of those being road games. So I don't know. It's an interesting schedule. It's not too crazy. They could definitely just rely on the running game until Murphy gets comfortable. Uh the defense is solid, so they could still win out. They could still make the Big 12, and if they can beat OU and then they could still make the playoffs. Their season's not over with Ewers being out unless he just doesn't come back. Then I think their season's over.
Yeah, even if they lose one of these games, there's a good chance they still end up in the Big 12 championship. Sarkeesian did throw out, that Arch Manning is going to be getting a lot of reps in practice because now he's the second string.
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
So there's a good like if Murphy doesn't play well, maybe we do see Arch Manning.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sure that the fans will be calling for it if
he's gonna
if
be
Murphy
getting reps
struggles.
with like the first team, so maybe they see something in him. Like maybe since he's getting reps with better players, he's gonna play a little better in practice. So they could be like, okay, the dude's cooking in practice. Let's let him loose. I don't really think it's wise though. I don't. He's
I think they're trying to avoid it for a reason, but
yeah,
if
because
maybe Murphy gets hurt, then he has to go in. I mean,
he's
there's a
such
good
a
chance we see him.
he's such a big time player. Like if he comes in and he starts absolutely demolishing people, you can't go back. You can't go back to Quinn Ewers. So you're pissing away that guy's rest of his senior year. Um, and then on the flip side of that, if he comes in and just bombs, everybody's like, all the people that are in IDL deals are paying all this dude all this money. Everybody's like, well, why the fuck are we paying this dude? He sucks. All the Texans fans are gonna be like, he's trash. Like, why would we want him to, compete for the starting job next year? Let's go get somebody in the transfer portal. You know what I mean? Like, it is like they're not gonna care that he's a freshman. They're care like everybody's gonna care because there's so much hype. He's making so much money, and because of his last name, like they just expect him to be it.
I think
Uh,
it was a bad decision for him to go to Texas. It's like the more I think about it, because
I
you
I
start to
don't
get
know.
under pressure being Manning, and then you go to Texas where the pressure's on you regardless of who the quarterback is.
Yeah, I'd say yes and no. Like it's good that he's going somewhere where he doesn't have to start. Like he's able to sit for the year. I mean, maybe not now, but ideally they were going to have him sit for a year, get comfortable, maybe learn the playbook, see what he's got. But it could have guessed went anywhere and done that, but it would have to be a big school with an already established like senior quarterback because he's obviously going to want to play. He's not going to want to sit for 2 years.
Yeah,
So
well, it's interesting because Murphy is actually a redshirt freshman.
yeah,
So he's been there 1 year longer. So I'm like, is Murphy like going to transfer out? I'm assuming he will.
one of
I'm assuming
them.
the plan is for Arch Manning to be the guy next year.
Yeah, I think so because Ewers is. I think he has to leave.
Well, I think he's a redshirt sophomore, but
Is he?
he's like a lock for the first round.
Yeah,
So
he is. Okay, never mind.
he's leaving for the draft.
100%.
So he's not coming back. So
Shit,
it's gonna be Murphy or Manning.
if I'm him and Texas drops another game before I'm back, I'm sitting the rest of the year. Why not? You're already hurt. Why
It really just
risk it?
depends. It really
Why
just
why
depends.
risk it for a decent bowl game that you're probably not going to play in anyways?
Yeah, unless there's still, a fighting chance for the Big 12 championship, then I would. Because I
If
mean,
he
you got because
cares,
you could avenge your loss to OU, which if I
eh,
was him, I would care. I mean, like you
yeah.
gotta
If he's all into the Texas culture and the rivalry, but he could just not give a fuck. Like I wouldn't come back if they lose another game before I'm back. I'm not playing the rest of the year. Why? Like why? You're already hurt.
if you could
Why?
make it look like you're still hurt. Like if he's healthy and he's like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it anymore. But I would milk the injury if he wants to go that route. I just don't think it's a good look
Yeah, I mean it's
to quit
not,
on the
but
team.
he has an excuse over Caleb. Like he just suffered an injury. We're already starting to get into the back half of the season. Like not that many games left. And they've already lost a game, so we'll see.
Yeah, OU. We played a this was another hangover game.
Hopefully,
UCF actually has the fourth best offense in the country, and their quarterback that they had, he had actually missed all the games they lost. This is the first game he's lost this season as their starter. All their games they won were with him.
yeah.
So
I watched the
I'm not
highlights.
surprised how good UCF played. I think OU, they got a little too cocky after that Texas win, and there's a couple guys on the defense that have really been irritating me. They're two of my favorite players, but they've just been so annoying. Jared Kanek and Danny Stutzman. The way they acted after Texas, like Danny Stutzman was smoking a cigar in the locker room, like we just won a Super Bowl or something. And then they got matching Texas horn down tattoos
Hell yeah,
on their thighs, which like when you sit down, it's gonna be like
it should
a
be
horn
normal.
tongue. So I don't know. The whole like they just got way too cocky after that. Hopefully this sent them back down to earth. Dylan Gabriel played really well.
Yeah, he did.
Nick Anderson played great. He had the game winning catch against Texas. He's kind of emerging as our best receiver, which is crazy because just a few weeks ago he was barely even getting any playing time. He has like 14 catches on the year, some shit
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that, and they're all like touchdowns, damn
I feel
near.
like before this, like, you guys didn't really have like other than Farouk, but he was pretty much non-existent. It seemed.
Yeah, he didn't do much. He did some kick
Stoops
returns.
Stoops had some
Stoop.
big plays, but he also caused an interception, a big one that could have caused the game. Yeah, their quarterback was fucking slinging it. He only made 16 passes, but he threw for 248, 2 touchdowns. He had some pretty big runs. I did take some notes on this, so you guys gave up a lot of big plays, like
Yeah,
big, blown coverages by the defense. That huge draw play that they had, that halfback draw. And then they hit it again. So that would be maybe something that they want to keep an eye out going forward because it seemed like it worked when they used it, and it's not something people will use a lot. So
yeah,
going forward, maybe playing this OU defense, I'd maybe break it out at least once, see if you could hit it.
yeah.
Um, the kicker, Jesus Christ, You
Yeah, the
guys' kicker
kicker is
fucking
terrible.
sucks.
Yeah, the kicker is terrible. We have nowhere to go on kicker. Open tryouts. That's
Exactly. And then 2-point conversion attempt that they tried at the end of the game was fucking terrible. I don't know what the like they're trying to do I don't know why everybody's trying to do the double pass right now in college football, but it's like not even working like probably 25% of the time for most teams. You guys seem pretty fast on defense. So you guys were able to snuff it out really easily. And the dude was covered that he was probably gonna throw it to anyways. So I don't really know what you're gonna throw it back over to the quarterback, I guess. That's really the only option that they had.
yeah, they got too
So
cute there at the end.
you guys got lucky, I would
OU's
say.
defense
But
bit on a lot of plays. Like
yeah,
there's this one play. It was like that big touchdown. I think at the end of the first half, where like our receiver, like their quarterback, like he was about to run, and then
yeah.
he stopped, and our corner like blitzed him, and he just had a guy wide open, nobody near him for like an 80-yard touchdown or
That's just
something
so
like that.
tough. Like on those perimeter players, like when the quarterbacks were running like that, there's nobody else. It's you. So you got to either give up the dude you're covering or let the dude fucking bust a run while you're running after this dude up the field and he's just chasing you. You know what I mean? It's so like what do you do? But then again, like you were expecting like somebody to be behind you, like a safety or something, to at least try to make a play on the guy. That's probably what he was thinking. I'd have to go back and look at it. Maybe it was the safety.
I think our big issue, the two big issues I got from the game were the kicker, because like if we missed two, if we would have made
No,
those, we would have been up 13-0. That would have just swayed the momentum, I think, a little
and the
bit
ones he were
differently.
making, like, and even the extra points were shaky. Like the way he was kicking, it's like the ball's like floating sideways. It was weird. It's like he's like a soccer player kick, but it's like not working.
Yeah, I think this
I don't
game would
know.
have been a lot more decisive had he made those first two. And
Yeah,
then the running game is just not good for us. And Jeff Levy is like trying really hard to get the run going.
but at least
I
he's
think
not
he just need,
abandoning it.
I think he needs to not abandon it, but he needs to give up on that idea that we need to spend the first half of football just trying to get the run going. Like, do it a
Yeah,
couple drives. If it's not going, go with the pass until the pass can open up the run again.
yeah.
Is kind of what I
Because
think we should
the
do.
run did open up there in the set, like towards the end of the game. Like you guys were, he was finding some holes. Like there was some big gaps that you guys were running through.
Yeah, we ran great in the last drive that we scored
Yeah.
on.
Uh,
Gavin Sawchuk. So our best running backs, Tolly Walker, Marcus Major. You know, him and Marcus Major are kind of like sharing the number one spot.
yeah,
Tolly Walker, I guess, got in an argument with DeMarco Murray before the game, so they suspended him for the game.
it's
DeMarco
stupid.
Murray's our running back coach.
Yeah, I
Uh,
get it, but
so they it was an in-house suspension, so that
that's
costed us a little bit, because if we had him, I think we would have got more going on the
I
ground.
mean, that's good though. Like at least they're holding players accountable and just not letting that shit fly. Because normally, like most teams would just kind of let that fly. Like he's just a running back coach. You know what I mean? Like he's our number one running back. But like, it's nice that you guys have that discipline.
Yeah,
Because
and I mean we won the game. I
ultimately, yeah, that's really all that
we
matters.
we got Kansas next. That makes me a little bit nervous because it's at Lawrence. I don't know if
Yeah,
Jalen Daniels is playing.
I don't
Uh,
fucking know if that dude's ever coming back. His back. He needed a whole new back.
OU needs to. Hopefully, this game woke him up, and
Yeah.
then hopefully Venables has been on their ass this week.
If you guys play
Uh,
like this against Kansas next week,
we're in trouble.
yeah, you guys are in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Because Kansas isn't having, a great year. I would understand if because Kansas coming in this with like one or two losses, but I think they got let's see how they've been playing. Kansas. Jesus Christ. They don't even show their fucking football team. It's how bad they are.
The basketball team is the first thing that
Oh,
comes up.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck is this? Oh,
You
Jesus.
spelled Kansas wrong.
Jesus Christ. You would think I'm drunk. Okay, I gotta do this the hard way. This is absolutely ridiculous. See, they don't even get any respect. You can't even find them.
Yeah,
Um,
there they are. There they are.
like fuck, man.
5-2, so they're not too bad.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I was wrong. I would be a little worried about this game. They they played Oklahoma State really close, and Oklahoma State's started out really shaky, but they've kind of emerged into a good team. BY they beat BYU pretty handily. Nevada's trash. Illinois is trash. And then who the fuck's Missouri State? And then
They beat
they blew
UCF. Like
UCF's doors off. So that Bean dude that they got is fucking cooking. This dude, he's been playing really well. He threw for 410 on Oklahoma State. Uh,
5 touchdowns. Yeah.
who the fuck played against UCF? This man only had 91 yards. Did they just run the ball all over him? I'm curious. Hold on. Getting off and go.
Let's see how that game went. I am a little curious about that. Yeah, it looked like they ran the ball all over him.
Punt
Bean
return for a touchdown, 75-yard touchdown run.
touchdown run. So just they ran the ball all over him.
And then you guys couldn't. I don't know. This might be a tough game. I would be a little scared.
I'm a little nervous, but I really think this is this UCF game is the only time OU's really like look besides Texas.
Yeah.
Is the only time they actually looked like they could lose. I think we beat Kansas pretty decisively. I think Venables will get everybody in control. I'm actually not too worried. I'm more worried about Oklahoma State. We have after Kansas. That's the game. Like if we're gonna lose, it's going to be Oklahoma State. Like mark my words. That is the game. If we beat Oklahoma State, we're going undefeated.
Should be in the clear.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the game that makes me nervous. Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State's starting to look pretty good now. They just they beat West Virginia, they beat Kansas, they beat K-State. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They got a great running back, Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, that dude fucking came out of nowhere.
They're killing it. And then yeah, we got Washington at number 5, and they were holy shit. I did not expect Washington to. I thought they were going to win this game decisively.
I think they were like 21.5-point favorites. They got lucky. They got very lucky. I granted, I think it was raining, so throwing the ball in the rain's not the easiest thing. And I don't think Penix wears a glove on us throwing in.
No, I don't believe he does.
So that factors into it a little bit, but they got 1 carry for 13 yards rushing. Like, what the fuck is that?
Could not get the. I mean, Arizona State has a good defense. They have a very good defense.
One carry though.
No, that's terrible. No, I mean, I guarantee they have more carries probably, but that's probably the most they got on a single carry.
Well, I guess we can dive into this a little bit. What am I looking for here? They had 13 rushing yards. That's it. That's that attempts. One. That's crazy. That's
so they ran the ball 12 times and didn't get a single yard. Because that or maybe that guy he had one rush for the sacks probably.
We can never it's always the sacks we're looking for.
Yeah, I bet you the sacks maybe that's what did it.
They got 0. 5 tackles for loss though. Wow. Something's just not adding up here. I didn't watch the game. I kind of want to go back and watch the whole thing now, because that's terrible.
Yeah. Washington just couldn't get it going on offense, and Arizona, Arizona State had some moments where they're getting the ball downfield.
It just didn't run the ball. Like they're not trying to run the ball. It's fucking raining. Like, what are you doing? You have 13 total carries. 13. This guy's 8 yards. For 6, and then all these tackles for loss brought him back down to 13.
One 13-yard carry is their total for the day, basically.
That's bad. And then Penix threw like 2 early interceptions, which kept Arizona State in the game and ultimately led to their touchdown. But this shouldn't even be this close. Not even close.
This is the 3rd straight team I've made this excuse for, but this was a hangover game. They're coming off a tough loss or a tough win against Oregon. Arizona State, they'll throw everything at you. They have nothing to lose.
Yeah, we was talking about Arizona State before this. I don't know. They're very, very good but bad at the same time. Like, only lost by 12 to Oklahoma State. Got blown out by Fresno State. They played USC like pretty close up to half. Barely lost to Cal. Barely lost to Colorado, and now barely lost to Washington. So it seems like they're kind of finally getting things figured out, but it's not getting any easier for them. more than likely lose every game here, but they could probably beat Washington State. Uh, yeah, Arizona State's like very like one of those trap teams. It seems this year.
They have that Scatterboo kid. I don't know if you've like seen much
Is
of
that the
that
running
guy.
back, right?
He's like their running back, like slash like fullback type dude. That dude is a beast. Like I wish he was on a different team because that dude plays his heart out. Like every time I watch him, he fights for extra yards. Like you can't really get him on the first tackle. I don't think he even had that many yards in the game, but like the carries he had.
Hot seat. Dude's trash.
It's his first year. The
Hey, he's still trash. I Kenny Dillingham is dog shit. Granted, it is
he's
Arizona State, so like they don't really expect much, but
he's under he was under Dan Lanning last year, and I can tell just by the way he
the
coaches.
way they fucking run their shit, it seems like it.
And
But
he's a weirdo. I think Dan Lanning's just a weird guy in my opinion, and so is Dillingham. He's just a
I,
weirdo.
I was watching the Oregon highlights against Washington State. It was like their first like big pass, and like the receiver caught it in some space, and he was like running up the sideline, and Dan Lanning was like full sprint, like waving him on, but like it's not even like he was gonna take it to the house. Like he didn't go super far. He went like I think 10 extra yards, but like then it was full sprinting, like he was taking it to the house.
That
I don't know
dude's an
why
odd man to me.
I don't know why it caught my eye, but I was like, "What are you doing, bro?" It's like this is like a punt return or a kickoff return. Like it was just funny. Oh man. Yeah, it's not getting any easier for Washington either. The Pac-12, man, they got the hardest probably schedules in the country. This shit's brutal. Like all the top teams, they all have the same setup playing each other. Like Washington, most of the teams have Arizona down here or Oregon down here, but they've already played them. But Stanford's probably going to be a blowout unless they somehow find that offense from the Colorado game, but not likely. Uh, I don't see them losing to USC, not even close, unless they only run the ball 13 times, maybe. Utah would be it's gonna be an interesting game. I think Utah could get them.
If
I
they
hope.
could continue that offense with Barnes, and he could just keep developing the way he has been, I think that's a game Utah because Utah has a great defense.
Yeah,
Um,
and they could lose to Oregon State too. They got a solid defense, and TJ's just getting better every game.
yeah, I mean Washington could go undefeated, and they could also lose maybe 3 games down this stretch. It's a weird thing.
They're like getting
I'm
worse.
curious about USC because I want to see how Caleb responds. Like, does he get fired up and want to like go extra hard? Can he just like finish his season off with like a 4 game win streak? I don't think so,
I don't think
but
he's got it in him.
it'd be interesting to see like what Caleb Williams is made of, and can he like beat some of these bigger teams down the stretch?
It just seems like Washington's getting like worse as the year's going. They barely squeak out the win against Arizona. They barely squeak out Oregon, which that's a really big win. And then this little guy here, uh, ain't looking good. Unfortunately, I like Washington, man.
It's a hangover game.
I
Uh,
guess we'll jump into this fucking dumpster fire.
yeah. Um, there is just so much going on with Michigan right now. Um, I guess we'll start with what happened on the field. They dominated Michigan
Yeah,
State.
as
Michigan
they
State's
should.
just a mess this year. Anybody who's playing Michigan State should beat Michigan State. McCarthy had a great game with his 4 touchdowns.
Only missed six
Defense
passes.
defense played phenomenal.
Yeah,
Um,
that they should. The Michigan State is barely a football team right now.
yeah, Michigan also knew all their signals too. So
Yeah, they also
nah.
cheated. So Blake Corum only got 59 yards, which is weird on 15 carries. That's kind of interesting. Maybe Michigan State has a decent run defense. I don't know. I
Corum the
didn't want.
past few weeks has not been able
Yeah,
to. He gets in the end zone, at least once a game. He's like guaranteed for that, but he could
yeah,
not like rush big.
vultures a touchdown from somebody.
I saw
I,
there's this game. It was the week before. I think it was Indiana. They had Donovan Edwards in, and then they like called a timeout and put corner in, like at the 1. And
Gotta
Donovan
pat it.
Edwards, you could see Donovan Edwards on the sideline, like just mad.
They just gotta pat his stats. He's trying to get in the league. I'm sure he gets drafted, but his stock has definitely went down from how he played last year. McCarthy's getting better every week, but
The
they're not.
Heisman favorite, apparently, according to some people, according to the odds in Vegas.
He's tied for second from what I've seen with Dylan Gabriel and Jordan Travis, I think. But they have played not a soul on their schedule. This might be like the easiest schedule out of any top team. I mean, other than maybe Georgia. Uh,
No, this is easy. I actually went back and compared today to see like who had the tougher schedule,
because it's
them
them two out of like the top 10 for like
or
worst
Georgia.
schedules.
But Georgia's schedule is a little bit better. I think they're only like I think they played Rutgers. No, they didn't even. Yeah, they played Rutgers. That's a good team. And then
And
Nebraska's 4-3, and Minnesota's 4-3.
and then UNLV 6-1, but
Yeah,
who the fuck is UNLV? You know what I'm saying? Uh, it just I don't know. It doesn't look good. Like yeah, they're blowing every team out by holding everything to at least 10, but with all the cheating scandals, like it's kind of I guess it looks kind of obvious now why nobody's being able to score against them because you know what they're playing like gonna run like.
yeah.
Uh,
I take that back. Georgia actually has the worst schedule. Looked at my notes, but still. And let's just hop into this cheating schedule or cheating scandal. That's what everybody is. That's the talk of college football this
yeah, that's
week and
all
this
that's being
past
talked
week.
about.
So
It's a
my take on it is everybody does steal
some
signals, and it's perfectly legal to do it in game. Like you can look
or
across the
on
field.
film
Yeah, but you cannot have somebody
advanced
there
scouting in
a
person.
week ahead film another team's signals, and then it's looking like they've been doing it for what 30 games. They found the
Yeah,
dude
wait, I
was
think the
at.
last like 2 years, and then they've advanced scouted teams this year. So like they were obviously had the seats for the Penn State, Ohio State. So that's two teams ahead. I'm sure they've checked out Maryland, probably Purdue. I don't know why you would need to scout Purdue, but
And if you're buying, because it's looking like they bought both sides of the field
yeah.
a few times, and
So
that
that
means there's
maybe,
more than one person there.
or it's the
Um,
same guy doing like one half on one side, moving to the other side, maybe. But that you're not really getting the full like signals that because the play calling develops throughout the game. Like the first, you're like realistically, like the first quarter is all like predetermined like plays. So you're not really getting into anything too crazy until like second, third, fourth quarter normally. So yeah, buying both sides of the field and only one person being there doesn't really make sense.
and this guy supposedly, so they found out it was him because you could look up, I guess, on StubHub who bought the tickets, and his name came up
On
for all
all of
these.
it.
This guy only makes like $52,000 a year is what they have
It would
him
it
at.
would basically take all his money to for the airfare, the tickets to the games, the lodging, the meals. Like it would that's a
There's
lot of
no
fucking
there's
money.
no way he's paying all that out of pocket. It's coming from somebody higher up.
It has to be. And then like what's the fucking point of him doing this if it's just for his own benefit? Like
He's just
that
he's just going to watch
going to
football.
steal signs so he knows what the team's calling so he can stand there on the sideline like, oh, I know what play's coming.
No, you know what's
Like
interesting is, do you know what his job title is?
what?
Recruiting analyst.
Yeah, get the
And they
fuck
have
out of
him
here.
they have him on video last year at Ohio State, Michigan on the sideline, like looking at the signals, and he's a
Yeah.
recruiting analyst
What are you
on the
recruiting players on the team to try to get the transfer? Like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody from Ohio State is going to transfer to Michigan. It just doesn't happen
this
normally.
whole this whole notion is just kind of like he just goes to these
Uh,
games for personal enjoyment. Like, oh, I want to sit on the other side too. Just get a different experience. I don't like
and
the way
like,
the
it's
sun.
like, yeah, they can let them loose, but the damage has already been done. Like, they already have everybody's shit. So like, they've already got it. It's not like you can be like, oh yeah, we didn't actually get anything from that game. Like somebody's got the shit somewhere, like the signals, like or they've memorized them and fucking threw the shit away. You know what I mean? Like they already know. So like all these teams ahead of them are gonna have to change everything.
It just depends on how ahead of this Michigan was. Like, did they destroy the evidence? Because I'm sure like at this point, like I remember like when I'm a Patriots fan, so I have some experience with
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 the
these
cheating
things.
scandals.
I remember they
Yeah,
had that confiscated like Tom Brady's phone and like stuff like that. Like they're probably coming into Michigan like looking
about
at
to
all of their technology,
try to do the same thing.
and if they hadn't destroyed it like already, and then they just suddenly destroyed some, they're in trouble. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It's very like unavoidable. Like you can't really explain out of it. You can't like say like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like everybody does it. Yeah, everybody does it, but not everybody's fucking sitting in the stands for all these. Yeah, maybe, but they haven't been caught yet. But
that's the thing. You
uh,
guys got caught, and like I don't think every team's doing this
yeah,
like
probably not.
at this extent. Like I know there are coaches that are looking across the field, which is perfectly legal. You could do it in
Yeah,
game, and that's your fault if you can't cover your signals or make it complicated enough to where the team can't figure it out. But
yeah,
you're going to
exactly.
other games, both sides of the field a lot of the
Where you're
time,
not even playing them.
and you
You're
play
not
them like
even in the
next
game.
week.
Uh,
Nah, it's ridiculous. I think there's a 0% chance Jim Harbaugh is the Michigan coach next year.
yeah,
I
I
think he
don't.
darts off to the NFL after the season's over.
He seems like that. He's a fucking weasel. He's funny dude, but he definitely. I don't know. I don't really know the guy, so I guess I can't even really talk on him. But
He interviewed with the Broncos last offseason. The offseason before, he interviewed with the Vikings. So he's kind of been flirting with the NFL anyway.
yeah,
He's going to go the Pete Carroll route. Pete Carroll, when he was at USC, he knew all this
shit was
sanctions were
coming.
coming down. He
Somehow.
darted. That's what Harbaugh's about to do.
And
This is
Michigan, they're definitely gonna get hit with something. That if they don't vacate every single win from when this presumably started at the minimum, I think that should be the minimum. They vacate every win that up to this point.
I don't think they should. I don't. Well, I mean, they should, but it doesn't really matter because nobody cares about vacated. Like
Well, if they
everybody
do
knows they
that,
won the
then
game.
yeah, I understand that, but it's hard to beat a team when you like. I seen a clip. It was I think Rutgers had coached in that game. Like they was talking to him at halftime, and he was like, "Yeah, there's just some things going on out there. It's just not right." Like he was like flirting around with like there's something fucking happening, and like he didn't want to like out it on TV and like oh they're cheating like because nobody's gonna take him seriously. Like you're losing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. I don't really know what the correct punishment would be. Like the vacating wins at the minimum seems reasonable.
Bowl ban at least 1 year, and probably I've been hearing multiple years, possibly 5 years. I don't know if it's gonna go that far. I don't think
That's
it'll go that
crazy.
far.
But I mean, this is like
Um,
one of the biggest like cheating scandals in college football and
Sports
or
like
yeah, in sports.
since the Astros in 2017, that's probably the biggest thing since.
And I don't even know what they got punished with.
I don't know baseball like
I
that.
don't either, but uh,
They almost got their World Series title vacated, and that's
they,
never happened in professional sports.
they probably should have.
And they didn't. But college, we've seen like stuff like that happen. So like Michigan could win this whole national championship and just get it
That
vacated.
would be
Doesn't get the
so. I
vacated.
hope they fucking figure it out before it gets to that point because that'd be so shitty. Like them winning it and taking it from somebody else when they don't deserve it and or they shouldn't even be there playing for it. You know what I mean? Like, granted, they've probably already scouted all the teams projected to be in the playoffs, anyways. More than likely, maybe not every single one of them, but they've definitely scouted Georgia. 100% have to have. They're going for a three-peat, so like the chances of them being there again are very high. Uh, like they've already been to Ohio State, Penn State, two potential playoff teams up
Yeah,
to
they
this.
technically didn't attend that one because it was already
Oh
everything had already
yeah,
been
out,
caught. But I
out.
bet
But
you they've been at Ohio State this whole season.
yeah, or last year. Like, I mean, I'm sure the signals don't change super much from year to year. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Depends on how complicated their shit is. Maybe they're comfortable with just leaving it year to year. But yeah, it ain't looking good.
Well, and the thing is, when you're good, when you're a good team, you're gonna have like haters. And my definition of a hater is like
You hate them
somebody
because they're
who
good.
sees somebody's success, and the first thing they want to do is like discredit that success.
Yeah.
But what Michigan has done is they have given like somebody like a valid reason to discredit what they've done. Um,
Absolutely.
and I'm sick of. I was already kind of sick and tired of Michigan this season because they haven't played anybody, and they're getting crowned like the number one, number two team by a lot of people. I was just watching. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Greg McElroy. Was like
I hate Greg McElroy.
he was like Michigan, or he was like Ohio State's not even a good team, and I was like they have a way better track record than Michigan does.
They have
Like this
a
this far
Notre
into the
Dame win
season,
and now a Penn State win, and those are ranked wins. Michigan don't have a single ranked win.
they have
Not
a few winning teams that they've played, like let
like
alone a
half of
ranked
them.
win.
So yeah, I get like the the fashion that they've won all their games. They've almost scored, at least over 30. They've not given up more than 10 points. Like I get it. They've dominated every single game, which is cool. But now it's like, did you dominate for a reason because you knew what they were gonna fucking call? And it's yeah, it's hard. Like if you know what they're gonna do, like yeah, you still gotta stop them. Like in this little Dion clip, like that's what he's standing. Like yeah, you know it's gonna go. It's like it's gonna be a run up the middle. You still gotta stop them, but like they're gonna bring all the fucking pressure right there if they know it's gonna be a run up the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard to like you're playing yourself basically.
Yeah, you have a major advantage, and I mean they're not the only team to do this,
No, but you still have to
but
crack
they
like
got
the
caught.
code for all those teams. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
you got, and then like you have like a week in advance to study these signs, figure out what they are. No, like you don't get that type of advantage while you're at the game. You maybe
mm,
figure out a couple of signs throughout the game, and then you can use
yeah.
that to your advantage.
And then
They know the whole all the signs.
I don't know if maybe they like are mostly focusing on like offensive side of the ball and that's why they've been so successful, or offense and defense. Maybe that's why they've shut everybody down, and have been able to score a lot because they know what the defense is going to run. So they can call appropriate plays for the coverage that they know is sitting out there before they even get to the fucking line. Could be why JJ is having a good year. I mean, he's good, but he's not fucking Heisman Trophy winner good.
Yeah, no, I think if Michigan wins, they're gonna have an asterisk next to the title if they do win.
I can't
Um,
imagine the investigation taking that long, all the way to the championship game in what, fucking into Jan or beginning of January. That's
yeah,
months.
they announced it what like the first week of December after the conference
Yeah,
champions.
and then like the committee might dock them because they're fucking cheating,
Yeah,
allegedly so
maybe the
far.
committee's like we don't even put them in because we know they're
I I
gonna.
I wouldn't. How can you honestly be like, there's this huge cheating allegation on this team with all this evidence, and you were still cool with putting them on over another team that's probably undefeated as well? I don't know. This doesn't seem right. Well, granted, if it was like a 12 team playoff, okay, put them at 12. Sure, whatever. Let them go out there and now run the gauntlet of the playoff. Yeah, it's just weird. I don't think they'll get like the death penalty or anything like that extreme. But
No.
I could see Harbaugh being fired, maybe, but that's just a coach. Like that's nothing against the program. Like that's not gonna hurt the program. Like
They're gonna get the wins vacated for sure.
it's gonna have
Uh,
to be something like that, or a bull ban, or
it's gonna be a bull ban, probably a loss in scholarships.
yeah, it has to be something to handicap the program a little bit because of this. Now, if it was all Harbaugh's idea and he was, the ringleader and orchestrating it, and like the program really didn't have any idea, they could prove that. Okay, yeah, sure, maybe fire everybody involved and leave it at that. But I don't really know how you would prove that unless they have like like a whole bunch of email traffic and texts and stuff like that. That's I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean next to like Penn State, this is
Yeah,
like the
that's
this is like the biggest thing since this is obviously not anywhere
yeah.
near as bad as that. And Penn State didn't even get the death penalty for that, so there's no way like Michigan's
I
gonna get
think
the
the
death
last team that
penalty.
got the death penalty was SMU.
Yeah, SMU was a powerhouse in the '80s, and they got the death penalty, and they haven't really
Yeah,
been
shit's
like that
crazy.
since. But yeah, Michigan, they're
I
a
just hope
talented team. They're a very talented team.
I just hope they lose to Penn State and we ain't gotta worry about them.
Yeah, that's my hope.
So I think if they lose to Penn State, I don't think they make it in with how weak they would have to beat Penn State or lose to Penn State, beat Ohio State, and then probably beat them again to overcome this terrible Penn State loss that's now going to be bad. I don't know. Penn State dropped only 3 spots with how they performed.
Just because I think that it was a close game on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
Georgia didn't play, so I guess we could get into our
top 6 finally.
personal top six. Um, so at
An hour later.
six, I have Georgia. Um,
Yeah,
Partial punishment for the bye, but then, like I said, I looked at their schedule. They definitely have the weakest schedule out of the current top six at the
I think that's
moment.
also why Michigan's getting a lot of fucking first place votes because they're not playing anybody. Or Georgia's not playing or haven't played anybody yet. They do play people coming up, but
Yeah, that's true.
I got Washington at 6.
That's fair enough coming out on off that loss.
Yeah.
Uh,
You could even argue them dropping. Maybe not. You can't really.
yeah, you can't drop them below 6.
I was thinking if North Carolina was still up there, you could switch them up, but they're gone. So the 6 is kind of locked. You just really interchanging these teams, unless you're going to punish Michigan and drop them out for Oregon. You can't really put Texas in there now. I guess you could put Bama or Oregon. That's really the only two.
I'm not gonna go as far as to take Michigan out, but
Yeah,
I do have Michigan at 5. They haven't really played anybody, and then on top of what has came to
yeah,
light, I got them at 5. Yeah, their wins are dominant, but they haven't played anybody, and now it's looking like maybe they got some help in being so dominant.
yeah. You know, on second thought, I probably should have put Michigan at 5, but I got OU at 5. Um, it just like it was a good
Close
win.
win.
It was way too close for my comfort. For a team, I thought you guys were gonna just you blow their shit out. But next week, if Kansas is not a similar type game, I would be more than happy moving OU up to at least 4.
Yeah, I have Washington at 4. Like I said, I think it was just a hangover game they had against Arizona State. Arizona State, they played USC really close.
Yeah.
Washington has that big win against Oregon. They have a better resume than Michigan and Georgia, in my
Oh,
opinion.
100%.
So that's why I
Yeah.
have Washington at 4.
Got Michigan at 4. Yeah.
So
The more I'm thinking about it,
You had them at 2 last week, didn't you?
yeah, I did. So I think I'm only punishing them because of the cheating, like dropping them spots. Like, yeah, they were absolutely dominant on all their wins, but they haven't played anybody either. I would switch them in OU probably now, kind of thinking about it, but I
Yeah.
don't know. There's not really any reason to other than the cheating to punish them other than their fucking weak ass schedule.
Yeah, I'm basically
You could even put them at
I'm sticking to
6.
my whole thing has been
Yeah.
resume. So that's why I have them lower. I mean, if Michigan beats Penn State and beats them decisively, I'll probably move them to 1, like realistically. Uh
And not with the way that offense was looking. If Penn State comes out there and their offense looks like that again, like that those Penn State wins are almost worthless to Ohio State and Penn State. You know what I mean? At least
yeah, I mean,
from my
I guess that's true.
perspective.
I mean, I guess you could make that argument as well.
Like
But
if all
that'll
the
be
bit,
the first decent team they play the whole year.
yeah, absolutely. I got
3 at
Ohio
3.
State 3.
You got Ohio State at 3. That's fair enough. I mean, they got a big win. I have OU at 3 because we have the Texas win still.
I
It
mean,
was a close win against UCF.
they got Notre Dame and now Penn State, but the Penn State wins iffy for me. The Notre Dame wins starting to look a little better after Notre Dame beat USC. And then Notre Dame losing to that Duke team is starting to make a lot of sense after watching them beat our ass last week. So I'm not as hard on Notre Dame now as I was earlier in the year. I just
Yeah,
hadn't
Notre
had a
Dame's
chance.
actually they had just a gauntlet of 3 really
Yeah.
tough games in a row. They had Ohio State, which they lost. They barely beat Duke. Then they lost to Louisville by a lot.
Or I'm thinking they lost to Duke. What am I talking
But
about? Yeah, it's
they
Louisville.
damn near almost did. That's what's crazy about it. It was like a last second.
Yeah, the Louisville win starting to or the loss is starting to look weird.
Just depends on how if
Yeah,
Louisville beat Duke. Um,
for
that would
sure.
help. That would help a little bit. 2, I have Florida State.
I also have Florida State
Um,
at 2.
Florida State, they have two really good wins at this point with Duke. You know, Duke's sitting currently at 20, and then LSU at 15. So it's two of the best wins anybody has. Clemson, the reason I don't have Florida State at 1 is because the Clemson win. They lost to Miami this past weekend. Is starting to
Yeah,
not look as good
yeah.
as the season goes on.
I feel you. Not everybody values the Clemson win as like we do, you know.
Yeah.
So we put more stock into it than everybody else does. And
Then
then
you're sticking with Georgia. Well, you gotta stick to your
unfortunately, I gotta
word.
stick to it. I'd have FSU at 1 right now, if I wasn't, rocking the defending champion stay at 1 type thing. I
Yeah,
don't know if I'm gonna do this next year, but
I have Ohio State at 1, and they
this
have Penn State ranked 10, Notre Dame ranked 14. Two really really good wins at this point. But you could interchange, in my opinion, Florida State and Ohio State being the best teams in the country.
yeah.
Uh, Georgia, I get the argument though.
I,
Like,
I think I think the AP's rocking like the same type of thing I'm doing. Because yeah, traditionally like the national champions stay at number 1 throughout the year, no matter like how bad they're playing, as long as they're winning. Unless there's somebody behind them that's just blowing everybody's fucking doors off and like ranked teams type thing. But nobody's like has any like crazy big wins over a lot of big teams. Uh, and then Georgia's gonna get some more big wins on their resume coming up. Florida would be interesting because they're turning into a solid team. Missouri would be a big win for them. I think this Florida game's actually their first real big game. Oh, they got Kentucky. I forgot Kentucky was ranked, but they fell off. So
yeah,
I don't know. Um, this is also a big rivalry game too. So I think we'll kind of learn a lot about Georgia in this game. Granted, it's not the best team they're playing, but they're okay. They're not bad. They got some guys. In rivalry games, anything can happen. Luckily, they're at home, I would say. Missouri's probably going to be their first real true team because Missouri looks really good.
and Missouri almost beat them last year. Missouri was not
Yeah,
nearly as good as they are this year. Granted, it is at Georgia this year,
yeah.
so Georgia probably escapes. But I
Uh,
think Georgia drops one before the season's over.
and Ole Miss is pretty good most of the time. It depends what team shows up, you
They
know.
just can't beat Bama, is what it seems like.
Yeah, so I think they could lose to Ole Miss, and then they could potentially lose to Tennessee on the road.
It's at Tennessee. That I'm pretty sure that's a rivalry game as well.
Yeah, they have a lot of rivalries. It's weird. Florida, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Bama, Auburn's kind of a rivalry.
Auburn actually played pretty good against Ole Miss this past weekend. They only lost by a touchdown. So
I hope Georgia loses, please. Just get them out of here.
I'm pretty confident though. I don't know which one it'll be. I'm kind of leaning towards this Florida one. I don't know why. I think it's coming off a bye. Florida's kind of trending up the past few weeks.
Yeah.
They're starting to, catch their stride a little bit.
I mean, if they beat Florida, and I think if they drop to Ole Miss or Missouri, I don't think they really have enough strength in the schedule to move them back up without help or them beating like Bama or LSU in the SEC championship. Like obviously that would be a big win, but on the regular schedule, they don't. It's not crazy, but if they lose, they don't really have enough, I think, to get them back.
Yeah,
If they
that
even
the
make the SEC championship, like it could be a. Actually, I think they would have to if they only lose one because Alabama and LSU play each other, so one of them's gonna get a third loss or a second loss, so then they would be out. So it leaves pretty much Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah,
So
and Georgia's in I believe, like the other division, and I think like the division Georgia's in is not very good.
yeah, as long as
Um,
Georgia doesn't lose more than 2, they're almost guaranteed to make the SEC championship. And then they win that, they're in regardless. So I don't know. I just hope they lose 2 and just be done with them.
the ideal situation for me is Alabama drops the game to LSU, and then Georgia drops one of these next 5 games, and then whoever's playing Georgia just beats them. Be
Yeah.
crazy if we had no SEC in a playoff. That's never happened before.
Oh, because depending what happens with Michigan, they could be there with one loss or undefeated. Ohio State would be there with one loss or undefeated. It's looking like unless Michigan gets fucked up by the committee, like both of these teams are probably going to make it. No, because they're going to play each other again more than likely.
They
They're
play
gonna...
each other the last game of the season, and the loser doesn't get to play
Oh, that's right.
in the conference titles.
Yeah, that
So,
happened last year.
and Ohio State still got in last year, but they needed some help to get in.
Yes, I think they both make it unless Michigan gets fucked by the NCAA. So that I think these two are kind of locked in the playoffs. It looks like for now. We have a pretty solid chance to make it. Washington's schedule is fucking ridiculous. I don't know. That like the half of it seems locked up already.
I would like if I had like just my best guess on like what I actually think it'll end up being. It'll be probably Michigan, Florida State, uh, Michigan or Ohio State, maybe both, but probably most likely Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, winner of Oklahoma, Texas in the Big 12 championship if Texas makes it that far.
I think the farthest we make it to the rankings is two. Because if Michigan and Ohio State's undefeated, they're obviously going to be one. If we win out undefeated, we're going to be two. Our schedule's not going to be better than theirs with that win over them.
Yeah.
And then three and I think Ohio State or Michigan, the loser would be sitting at four. And I'm thinking OU and Washington are fighting for three. And if you
Yeah,
guys
I think Washington gets knocked out before then.
and if you guys both went out, I think Washington definitely has the better schedule. So they would
Oh, at that point, I just don't think there's any way Washington
if
could actually
Washington
do it.
wins out, they would probably be one. And then
If we win out and Washington wins out, you're just gonna have to kick out the loser of Michigan Ohio State. You can't put a
yeah,
one
true that.
loss.
True that. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, our ideal scenario here, our teams obviously went out. Um, I don't know who would have the better schedule at their at the end of the day because you don't know who you would be getting in the Big 12 championship. Could
I'd
be
say
Tech,
Florida State probably has the better schedule because you're gonna have LSU, you're gonna have Duke,
Duke,
and then you're gonna have North Carolina or
or
Louisville most
Louisville,
likely,
or
um,
Duke again.
or Duke again. OU is just gonna have Texas and maybe Texas again. Um,
OSU will probably be ranked by the time you guys get to them, so that could be a good win. But
yeah,
I guess other than those two, so it'd be us. I kind of want Washington to make it, but their schedule is fucking stupid hard, so it's gonna be really tough. If they make it through their schedule, I don't see how they don't just win the whole thing. So those three, I would like to see Washington there, and then I hate like the rest of all those teams. I kind of hope Utah just sneaks in, but they would have to beat Washington, so they're competing. But Oregon State, I guess, but that's another Pac-12 team. I don't know, man.
I've been so like anti Ohio State the past few years, but
I,
at
I,
this point, I'd actually rather see them than Michigan, honestly.
yeah, me too. I'd rather play Ohio State than Michigan. I think they match up against us in like a way that's gonna be very hard for us. And I think if we beat them, like we would deserve it, you know?
Well, the potential matchups, if we're going on, it'd be like Michigan would most likely play OU, because OU most likely be four. Then Florida State would play Washington the first if
Yeah.
Washington won out.
Or like Alabama.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't want to fucking play Washington. If they make it all the way, they're kind of unbeatable. That fucking schedule's tough. If they can make it out unscathed with no major injuries, they'd have the Heisman Trophy winner more than likely. Granted that sometimes is a detriment, but
Yeah. I don't know if you finish your season out undefeated, regardless of like who you're rooting for. Like you gotta like your chances against anybody you play if you win your whole
yeah, for
season
sure.
undefeated.
I definitely think we could beat anybody. Like we have a lot of talent. It's just do we make the same stupid mistakes type shit and fuck ourselves out of the game?
This is the most wide open championship race I've seen in a long time. I think.
At this point in the season, it seems like it, but a lot of these teams play each other and they're gonna knock each other out. So I think we end up with a one loss team at least one.
Yeah, well, there's eight undefeated teams right now, and there's like what 5 games left, there's definitely only going to be like 2 to 3 at the end of the season.
if any.
Yeah, if any, because
Because
like people don't realize how like hard it actually is to just go undefeated the whole regular season.
yeah,
It rarely happens. OU, we have like the highest like percentage chance to make the playoffs.
we have like a
Um,
40% chance somehow. I think it's they're basing it off of our ACC championship game. They probably don't think we'll win.
yeah,
That's what I'm assuming. I don't know.
yeah. OU hasn't gone undefeated since 2000. So
Yeah,
like the notion that OU is just an automatic undefeated regular season is crazy to me.
we
Once you
went
get this deep in the
undefeated.
season, everybody's giving you their best shot too, especially if you're undefeated and at the top.
Yeah, we went undefeated in 2014. That was our last one after winning the
Yeah,
championship the year before. Granted, we got our shit blown out in the playoff, but we still went on. I guess technically not undefeated, but regular season undefeated.
yeah. I mean that's what I mean. Regular season undefeated, it's hard to
Yeah.
accomplish.
So Ohio State, Michigan, it's impossible for them both to do it. One of them's losing. Winner of that's definitely going to be undefeated more than likely. Ideally, I hope Michigan beats Ohio State. Michigan gets fucked by the NCAA. Ohio State has a loss. They would probably take Michigan's spot in the Big 12 championship. Probably play Iowa again. So they always seem to make it. But and then they would probably be sitting at 4, and then everybody else could be undefeated potentially.
Yeah, but we'll see how this season plays out.
Oh
Let's see what else we have. We kind of went over most of our game of the week performances and stuff. Should we hop into Heisman now at this point?
yeah, you're right.
Heisman, yeah. This will be an interesting. This was a tough one. That's who I have at 5. Jaden Daniels.
I don't think I changed mine at all.
I changed mine like pretty significant, not significantly, but I changed some stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I changed mine at all.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
He,
He's
he
having a
could
crazy year.
he could arguably number one. I mean he's kind of right there with Penix on stats. 3 less yards, 5 more passing touchdowns, less interceptions, better QBR. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns, so he's in at 30. Penix has 3 more, so he's in at 23. So he's got almost more everything, but 3 less yards passing. So like statistically, he's having a better season than like everybody, other
Yeah,
than like Shador maybe. So you could definitely make the argument him being number one, and he's played better teams than the majority of the dudes sitting up in the top 5. He's probably played the better schedule out of all of them, other than Travis and Penix. And still cooking, and even in his losses, like he threw for 346, touchdown, only 1 interception, 64 yards rushing against Ole Miss, 414, 4 touchdowns, 99 yards rushing. So like even when he's losing, like he's still fucking going crazy. His worst game is probably at Missouri. And
if he gets
uh,
this win against Alabama, he's definitely gonna have a real shot at it. I think.
I don't know if they give it to him with 2 losses, unfortunately, and that's fucking shit. If he keeps playing like this, you kind of have to give it to him unless Penix is able to win out. Because if Penix drops
Yeah,
a game, I think he's out.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
I think so too. But I mean, the thing with Daniels is
he's also in the SEC too, which that helps him.
he could lose another one though. Like he could lose in the SEC championship even if they do beat Bama.
Yeah,
Uh,
if they lose another game, I think he's definitely out. Um, just like Caleb Williams, he's already lost 2. Like he's pretty much, I think, out if he even plays another game. He's having an incredible season, like incredible season.
yeah. I would say he's one of those sneaky, like almost like how Caleb Williams was last year. Like the whole season, we're like, yeah, this is Stroud's, and then like stuff happens at the end of the year, and you're like, well, I guess it's Caleb. I feel like it could be that
Yeah,
way with Daniels.
man,
Like
I was locked
everybody
in
could
on
lose. You're like, oh, it's him.
I was locked in on Penix. I don't know what the fuck happened that last game. Like I'm chalking it up to the rain and hangover, but if he plays like that again, then we're like, okay.
Yeah, he's not looking as good as he was, but I'm not discrediting him too much yet. I have a JJ McCarthy at 4.
Same.
Um, I didn't even really want to put him here. I'm gonna be honest, but
I didn't want to put him in the top 5, but like he's having a solid year. He's number 1 in QBR, only 3 interceptions. I mean, he's got more passing. He's got more statistically. He's better than Jordan Travis, but they've played nobody. So I don't know. I think he's got like 5 more touchdowns than Travis or some shit. So he's got 18 and then 3 rushing, 21.
yeah,
Travis has 15 and 5, so he's got 20. So he's 1 less. His QBR is just kind of hurt a little bit.
yeah. He's playing good, and he's on a team that hasn't lost yet. So
I mean, what do
if
you
he if
expect? I
he
guess.
finishes out undefeated and he has good games against Ohio State and Penn State, he probably wins it.
I'm
I
still,
don't I
I'm
don't really see
still,
how he doesn't.
I'm still stuck on this Bowling Green 3 interception game. Maybe they didn't steal the signs for that team.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we don't need to steal the signs from Bowling Green. We could do that one without it.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be just looking into this. Like all his interceptions came in 1 game, so I guess you got to give him some credit. He does take care of the ball. His completion percentage is pretty solid. I think he's averaging like 77.8, like for the year, something like that, which is really good.
In my opinion, he's no better than Stetson Bennett was last year. Like
No,
a solid quarterback on a really really good team,
I would
and
rather
Stetson
Jaden
Bennett didn't
Daniels.
get nearly this much attention.
I would rather Jaden Daniels get it with 4 losses over JJ McCarthy undefeated if Jaden Daniels keeps playing like this. If all things said and done, like he's gonna end up with like maybe 2,000 more yards passing and probably like fucking 15 more touchdowns overall than JJ. Like how can you honestly give it to him over this guy? It's the best player in college football, not a good player on the best team. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what it's starting to become.
Well, it'd be one thing if Michigan was winning these games because of JJ McCarthy, and
Yeah,
that's why, or he was like a big part of it. But I mean, they have
yeah,
a good defense, they have a good running game. Yeah, I hope he doesn't win it. He probably will if they go undefeated, but I don't think they go undefeated, so I don't think he wins it.
yeah.
Jordan Travis is who I have at 3.
Nice.
The past few weeks we've been kind of like downplaying it, but now I'm starting to think he has actually a really good shot of winning it. As long as Florida State keeps winning, and then uh, a few things happen to some other quarterbacks and they lose.
Yeah, and the only thing that's really hurting him is like his passing yards and maybe his QBR a little bit, but I don't know. He's not playing all the full games. Like he didn't play all of the Syracuse game. Granted, he probably wouldn't have got a whole lot more in that game because it was like halfway to the fourth when we pulled him. Uh, and he has been hurt a little bit, but and he didn't play all of this game. But he's just like he looks fucking incredible. He's having Heisman moments. He's breaking tackles. He's running for big plays, making good passes. He's spinning out of tackles in the backfield, like keeping plays alive. He's the only reason we're undefeated. The only reason. Let's
Yeah,
be
well,
real.
and you can make that argument like against JJ McCarthy. Like this is what I mean. Like Jordan Travis is kind of the reason Florida State is staying in games, in
Facts.
comparison to just getting kind of carried by a really good team.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't
playing
say he's
shitty.
carrying his team, but he's leading his team. And
He's
if
and they're playing
if
shitty
they didn't have
defenses.
them, they would like Florida State would probably have a couple losses if Jordan Travis
Oh, we
was
would have
playing.
lost to Duke Saturday. We definitely would have lost to Clemson, more than likely. We probably would have lost to Boston College. And then I don't know if we'd have lost. Probably would have lost to LSU. Yeah, he went kind of crazy that game.
Yeah. So I mean, Jordan Travis has a real shot. Like this whole season, we've been like, I don't know if he'll really win it. Now it's like, yeah, he's probably just he's up there, top 3, top 4.
I hope he gets. And then like we do have some solid comfortable games left on the schedule for him to go out and ball out like Pitt and Wake Forest if he ain't putting 300 out there. But if we get up really big because like the defense and shit, like we're not gonna play him. We're gonna take him out. Unfortunately, like we're more focused on the national championship, and I think he is too. He's so unselfish. Like he don't really give a fuck about the Heisman. So I'm sure he would like to win, but it's not necessarily a thing that we're going for really.
Yeah, I think he just certain things just have to happen for him to win it, but
Yeah,
he's looking like he's gonna be there at the end of the season. And yeah, Dylan Gabriel's who I have it too. He's still having a
it's
really
crazy.
good
We're literally
season.
at the same five.
Yeah, we have the exact same five this week.
I'm pretty. I didn't change mine up from last week.
Yeah, mine's different because I had Drake May. I remember last week I was like my top five is definitely like the Heisman, and then of course Drake May gets like beat by
Upset.
Virginia. I'm like, okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
wrong again.
Dylan Gabriel's having a fucking incredible season. He's got more, I think, touchdowns and yards than Travis and McCarthy. Better QBR than Travis. He's got a big win. It's a Heisman moment.
He's catching up to Penix too
Yeah.
on yardage.
So I don't think he's better than like Jaden Daniels. You can argue he's better than Jordan Travis. Uh, but Penix, I don't know. I still don't know.
It really just depends on if Penix loses or not.
Yeah. Everybody
And
kind of just needs him to lose and him to, or just him to keep having like not good games like he did this past weekend. It's really up to him to lose at this point, it seems.
Dylan Gabriel cannot lose a single game.
No,
Like
absolutely not.
if he loses the game, he's not gonna win it.
Same
He
with
has to
Jordan
go undefeated.
Travis. Same with Jaden Daniels. Probably the same with all these dudes. Like they all have to win out.
Unless everybody loses in it, like resets the whole
And then fucking Caleb
thing.
Williams will be back in there. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I
just
only got 2 losses, or whatever the fuck they end up with. You know what I mean? Or then we might be looking at some other fucking person like
Kyle McCord or somebody who's not on our radar.
I don't know, but somebody that maybe on an undefeated team. But Marvin Harrison, you could argue maybe he's had what I think 5 straight games over like 120 yards receiving or some shit.
Yeah, he wasn't like doing crazy at the start of the year, but now he's really caught fire and he's just like
Yeah,
catching 150 plus every game.
I
Uh,
mean, if it wasn't a QB award and he was playing like that from the beginning, I would be so comfortable with him sitting at like 3.
Receivers have won it. I mean,
Yeah,
Devontae
Devontae Smith
Smith just
just won
won
it
like
not too
two,
long
3 years
ago.
ago.
So I don't know if the committee would want to do it again so soon. Probably not. Fucking bastards.
You know who I'm rooting for? I'm hoping Dylan Gabriel gets his statue on Heisman Row.
I'd be cool
Uh,
with it. If Jordan Travis, if he ends up taking himself out of it, because we take ourselves out of it, like because they don't need to play crazy, by all means, I'd be cool with anybody winning it except for JJ McCarthy,
yeah, actually, that's
realistically,
exactly how I feel about it. As
and
long as
Caleb
JJ
Williams
McCarthy doesn't win,
and Kyle McCord.
it'd be kind of cool. If Caleb Williams won again. It'd be kind of hilarious because
I don't
like
think he can now with the way he's played like the last couple of weeks
there's no way
and
he
2
wins it.
losses.
There's absolutely no way he wins it. But that'd be hilarious if he did.
Yeah, and then obviously we have Michael Penix, and he was going crazy, he's slowed down a little bit, more so like this last game. His rating's still 109.8 passing. Like his QBR is really bad because he only completed fucking half his percentages, but he got saved in the Oregon game because of touchdowns. But I don't know. It wasn't his best game. I'm still chalking it up to the rain.
Yeah, I mean, but
I don't know.
he had that no touchdown game against Arizona as well, which like that's also kind of weird. Like he did have
Yeah.
yards that he had really good yardage that game, but he had no touchdowns. He has two games this season with 0 touchdowns. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, but both of those teams also gave everybody else they've played a pretty good run. Like Caleb struggled against Arizona and Arizona State in some capacity. Arizona shut his ass down for the most part.
I I like if my gut is telling me he doesn't win it because I think he's gonna drop 1 to 2 before the season's over. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be mad. I wouldn't be mad if he won it. I do like the guy. I think he's great.
And saying
Um,
he's a lefty too. It's just cool.
but my gut's telling me it's gonna be McCarthy. That's what my gut's telling me is it's gonna happen. It's not what I want to happen, but that's just kind of my gut feeling.
I really just want the NCAA to speed the shit along so we can just cut them all out of the conversation entirely. So,
That's just like who do you like think is gonna win?
mm, probably Dylan Gabriel. I don't see you guys like even if you're coming in and like dominating these teams, he's gonna dominate like passing wise. Because like obviously guys run game's not going crazy. So like he's gonna be putting up numbers in all of these games. Um and all these teams are gonna score in some capacity. So I don't see him getting pulled really in any of these games.
That's true. You
Unless
can
your
say, yeah.
unless the defense just goes crazy and kind of keeps him off the field. But yeah, you guys have a very good shot at going undefeated. And then yeah, you're right. There's a very good chance they lose a game. Some Washington loses a game somewhere in here. And then for us, like, yeah, I think we went out too, but
There's a good chance Jordan Travis gets pulled in the next two games.
exactly. Like
And
North
at North Alabama, he's
Alabama,
only playing like the first quarter of that shit, probably.
if we don't score 21 in the first quarter there, like, yeah, probably till halftime, maybe. Like, he might get all his stats that he needs in the first half, but yeah, I just don't see him putting up the stats he needs. And then McCarthy, I'm expecting them to do something. And then LSU is going to lose another game. So I'm like pretty sure Dylan Gabriel wins it as long as he doesn't get hurt or have a catastrophic game and you guys lose. I would be
Yeah.
almost comfortable dropping like some money on Dylan Gabriel to win it. But
Like I don't want it to be McCarthy, but I'm like I feel like even with one loss, they might still give it to him. Like
yeah.
just because they're on Michigan like that.
I don't think you guys win the championship per se, but I think he definitely can win the Heisman. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think if we get to the playoffs, like nothing's off the
yeah,
table.
nothing's off the table. But um, I mean, and you guys, Dylan Gabriel is very good. He could carry you guys to a win. I think it just really depends on who you guys get matched up against.
Yeah, I mean
Like
the
like
two
first
offenses.
game more so than the championship game was what I'd
Yeah,
be worried about.
well, because if you win that first game, you definitely like your chances against anybody
Yeah,
at that point.
exactly. Like if you guys get matched up against like Michigan and the defense that they be rocking,
That'd be tough.
it would be very tough. And then Ohio State, like I'm saying, I don't, there's nobody that can cover those receivers. Nobody. You can cover one of them, but then they have another one. So if McCord's on, I don't see how they lose really. And they have a solid run game. Their defense is solid. I don't see how Ohio State loses really.
You have to get pressure on McCord,
They have to.
and you have to like
And then,
sack him.
but then you're putting your fucking secondary out there on, man coverage on these fuckers that are insane. I don't know.
I hope after this upcoming week, maybe we'll have more clarity. Probably not.
We say this every week. We need more clarity. We're ride that train to the end of the season. We finally got it, boys. We're locked in.
We got clarity. Like the national champion has been crowned.
And then we're gonna be like, yeah, this team's gonna win it, and then they lose. They get blown out in the first game. And you're like, well, fuck.
We're not gonna have clarity until the season's over, and even then, we're gonna
Then
be
we're gonna
like,
be like,
"Do we
well,
really like that?"
like,
Was a
why did
close
this
win.
team?
Like,
Yeah, why did this team lose to that team? Or they lost because this person was hurt, whatever. Looking ahead to this week, we'll see if we got another good weekend.
Yeah, Liberty just won. They've clinched a spot in the Conference USA championship game already.
Damn, that's
That's
pretty
pretty
impressive.
early. That's pretty early to have something like that happen.
Louisiana Tech, they also won today. Tomorrow, Sam Houston. Did they win this past week?
I don't think they did. I don't know.
I think I remember you were talking about them before.
Like they're not like they don't win, but they always play everybody close. It seems
Yeah.
like
Syracuse, Virginia Tech could be an
I
interesting
might
one.
tune into that one, just because it's 30. Well, I mean, I don't know what the NFL game's gonna be,
Yeah.
but I might tune into that one if the NFL game's not any good.
Let's see. OU Kansas will be really interesting. It's probably the only good early game.
Yeah, all these early games are terrible. Really, that's the
Houston
only
K
one that's even
State
kind of
could
decent.
be okay.
Yeah, with what Houston just did. Uh,
Georgia Florida is really the first kind of big game. Yeah, Texas BYU, Utah Oregon,
yeah,
Duke
that 2:30
Louisville.
slot is covered. Yeah,
Yeah, that shit's stacked. And then the evening games are probably trash. See if Virginia can beat Miami. That'd be kind of
that'd be crazy.
yeah. Um,
Air Force Colorado State, I think, is gonna be a really good game.
yeah, I think so.
Colorado State's a good team. That might be Air Force's loss. Like if they win this one, I think they got it.
Yeah, Colorado State's quarterback's really good. Colorado UCLA will be fun.
That'll be a nice game to watch. Oh, hey, and it's not at 9:30. Finally, a Colorado game that's not at 9:30.
And then if you're up late, Oregon State and Arizona should be pretty offensive heavy.
This every week when the 9:30 game comes around, I'm like, I'm not watching that game, and then I'm up late as hell watching that
To
game
like at least midnight, and you're like, well, fuck, it's looking like it could get overtime, so I gotta kind of stay.
every week. That 9:30 game has been like the best game of the week. I feel like almost every week.
Yeah, potential for upsets. I'm Penn State, no. Oklahoma most definitely is on upset alert.
Yep.
Georgia, I would say so. Texas for sure. If Utah beats Oregon, it's not really an upset. And then
Uh,
who's USC's backup?
I don't even know the guy.
If Caleb Williams sits, do you think they could lose to Cal? I don't think they could.
I don't think he's gonna sit, but it's weird because Lincoln Riley has not been available to the media this whole week, which is
Yeah,
starting to make me kind of suspicious. Does he not want to say that Caleb is like
not
quit for
gonna
the
play.
year?
Yeah. I guess Air Force could be upset.
Wisconsin might. They have a good defense. They have a very good
They
defense.
got no fucking offense though. You're not gonna beat Ohio State with not being able to score points.
Eh, maybe,
Who's
maybe.
covering who's covering Marvin Harrison on that defense? Not a soul.
I don't know, man.
You could put three dudes on him, he's still catching balls.
I think Wisconsin's got a very good shot of winning this game.
I think Ohio State wins by at least 14.
Nah, it'll be
Okay. I'm what's the spread on here? I'd slap that
the
in right
spread
now.
probably is 14, I bet.
I hate when
But
it's like 14 and a half. I'm like, you fucking motherfuckers.
it's almost always a half point just to get you.
Yeah, they already know the fix is in. Where's this game at? It's probably not even on here.
Let's see. Ohio State, Wisconsin. I know I seen it on here. 14 and a half, yeah.
Okay, I would take the over on the spread. Why not? And then Colorado could upset UCLA
Yeah,
for
that's definitely a
sure.
Colorado, you never know with them. You just don't.
North Carolina could be upset by Georgia Tech. And then Oregon State most definitely could be upset by Arizona. So there could be a good handful of upsets. There's a good handful of good ranked matchups, at least two. There's a some couple rivalry games. So it's not an overall like packed weekend for big games, but there's like enough. And then there's like enough big games for smaller, not smaller teams, but like smaller ranked schools. Like this OU Kansas game, like a lot of people might not be like, oh yeah, whatever, OU's gonna blow them out, but we think it should be a good game at least.
I mean, I think OU will win a lot more decisively than they did against UCF, but I think Kansas is going to give them a little bit more trouble than they're expecting.
Yeah,
I'd say it's going to be like, I don't know, like 49-28 or something
you
like
know,
that, if I had to guess.
I almost feel like you guys play better on the road.
We kind of do.
It's
And
weird.
I don't, our defense, like aside from like the past 2 weeks, has been pretty good. Like we've only allowed 30 twice this year. UCF and Texas, and those are
Yeah.
two top 10 offenses in the country.
Yeah.
So those are like UCF was the best offense we played the whole year. So I
They
don't
were
think we
cooking.
struggle. I don't think we struggle as bad against Kansas. Every time because last week was a week full of like upsets or near upsets.
Yeah.
Usually the next week you don't see like upsets like that. The following
Maybe
week,
one, maybe two.
like I think Florida Georgia is the biggest one because the Swamp's a tough place to play. Like
Yeah, it is.
that's a tough crowd.
If the fans show up, which they should, because they fucking hate each other, so they should sell out.
Wisconsin, I think Wisconsin's got a shot. They don't have Tanner Mordecai for the rest of the year. I guess he like broke his hand or something.
Yeah.
So their offense is going to struggle. Can they run the ball against Ohio State? I don't
I
know.
can see them not score at all.
That's is really just an offensive question.
I would even consider taking that bet of them not scoring a point.
I don't
But
know.
that's risky because the defense could. I'm not fucking McCord's not an all-star. He could make a mistake and throw a pick six or a small interception on their side of the field to give Wisconsin a field goal to just ruin my shit.
Could be a hangover game for Ohio State.
Well, Ohio State really don't have hangover games. They don't really do that.
Hangover games. That's
That's the theme of the season, it seems, but I don't think this is one of them, unfortunately. I hate Ohio State, but I'm buying into them like a lot more as like the years going on, unfortunately.
yeah. I mean they're good. I think they're better than Michigan. I had them at my number one, based on their resume. Um, do I actually think they'll lose to Wisconsin? No, but
No chance.
I think Wisconsin could put up a fight. I think it could
It,
be like one of those struggle games where Ohio State has to grind it out a little bit.
there's like a -% chance for Wisconsin to win. They could lose Ohio State could lose their quarterback and Marvin Harrison and probably still win.
Luke Fickle's a great coach. Wisconsin's a great program.
Yeah, they
Um,
are, traditionally, but this year not really.
I think they only
Uh,
got 2 losses on the year.
let's see what kind of points they put up.
Five
Yeah,
and
five and
two.
two. So they put 22 on Washington State. I think everybody's been scoring on them. And then, this Iowa defense. I think Iowa should still be undefeated. I think they got hosed in that last game too, from what I've
Yeah, it
heard.
was like 12-10.
Yeah, so I think they should have won. But I mean, they're putting up some points, but they haven't really played like the one good defense they played. They put up six.
Yeah,
Their starting quarterback only has
and
1,100
he's
yards
he's out.
passing and 3 touchdowns
He's out for
on
the
on the
year.
year. And then he's out. And then their backup already almost has more touchdowns than he does. So maybe the backup's better. They just even their starting running back don't even have 1,000 yards yet.
Looks like they got a decent little running game going though, like a
Yeah, but
three-headed monster, or like I guess a two-headed monster
good
type deal
fucking
going
luck
on.
against that D line.
I bet you final score 20 28-17.
I'm going 45-13.
They've only allowed over 30. It looks like one time this year to Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State and Ohio State's offense though.
Arguably, they've had a better year offensively than Ohio State has.
Yeah, Cam Ward he's good, but he kind of fell off. I don't know what the fuck happened to him.
No, Ohio State, they like there's something weird about the offense. Like they have like all the talent in the world in the offense, but
Yeah, they're
they
just
keep
not putting
scoring
it
like
together yet.
20-ish points, and it's just really weird.
Yeah, I mean maybe 45 is a little high, but like it's definitely over 30.
Yeah, no, I think Ohio State wins the game. Let's see. Yeah. I think Georgia Florida is the biggest potential for an upset. And
That might
honestly,
be the best game of the weekend, arguably, because I could really see like you guys blow them out. I mean, like granted, there could be other big games, but we're looking at like the big teams. I could see Oregon just blow Utah out. I could see Louisville beat Duke by a good amount with no Riley Leonard. Um, Ohio State will probably blow them out. This could be potential for game of the week. Colorado UCLA might be kind of close, and then Oregon State Arizona. I think those three games are like really gonna be like the game of the weeks, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you never know though, because last week I didn't know what kind of week we're going into. It ended up being the probably the best week of the season,
Yeah,
and then this weekend hopefully it's just as good. I'm excited. I'm excited just because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a full day to watch football. That's
I'm
one thing I hate
trying.
about going to the games is like you miss all the other games,
Yeah.
and it just kind of becomes your whole day. I'm like,
Yep.
fuck, I missed everything. Like I missed the
Hopefully this
whole
will
thing.
hopefully this will be the one Saturday I can actually watch games at my own home in peace, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, I think we're kind of at the end of the episode.
Yep.
Yeah, let us know in the comments your Heisman top five, your top four teams. What upsets do you think are coming this week? And see you next week.
Roll
Roll
Tide.
Tide.